If there was one physical subject, one material subject that we should focus on, in my opinion, it is very clear that the head of the snake is the financial system. We can argue till the end of time about who runs the world. Is it the Jesuits? Is it the reptilians? Is it the Illuminati? Is it the Freemasons? We can go on and on and on and on about this. But I don't think it is reasonable to even begin arguing about the mechanism that is used to exert this control. The mechanism is finance. The whole point of finance is to indebt, otherwise to enslave. What is a mortgage? I mean, what does that stand for? It's a death grip. So when you get a mortgage, you have a death grip held over you because you are in debt. You don't even own the house. The bank owns the house that loans you the money to buy the house, unless you're fortunate enough to have all the money to buy it outright. And even then, you can be taxed by the government, and if you fail to keep up with those taxes, the government can then take it from you. The whole system is based on a financial fraud, which effectively takes the power that we have and it gives it to a tiny group of individuals who are running the world through the control of finance. With the infinite supply of money that we have allowed them to take, they have literally an infinite supply of money, and with that money, and from their psychopathic point of view, they have bought everything and everyone who can be bought. So those of us who cannot be bought, because we operate on a level that goes way beyond the material, we are not rewarded for such behavior, we are punished for such behavior. And the most slovenly, disgustingly criminal people, corrupt moral individuals, those are the ones that are rewarded in this system, which is upside down. We reward the corrupt, we reward the liars, we reward the people with no morals at all, and usually we compromise them under this system in terms of maybe a videotape. If I was in charge of the world and I was a psychopath and completely drunk on my own power, you can bet damn sure that's what I would do. I wouldn't allow anyone in a position of power who wasn't completely compromised. When you have an infinite supply of money, you can do this. Take that supply of money away, take that power back, put it in the hands of the people, get rid of fractional reserve banking, which is an obscenity in itself. Let's take back control of the issuance of money, and not just on a national level. I'm happy to see in Denmark that you have your own currency, you don't have the euro, but on every country's level, they should be issuing their own currency in a transparent, non-usury based way in which it really, truly benefits the people. And in that way, we can literally free ourselves of the banking debt which is drowning us all, and we can stop scrambling for the crumbs from the table of these filthy rich psychopaths and live in a state of abundance just by changing this one thing. And I'm not just talking about abundance for Western nations who have an artificially inflated value with their currencies. We all in the West are guilty of having that reward while the rest of the world is sucking on it. Every nation in the world can use a sensible financial policy to liberate themselves, to have world-class education, infrastructure, everything that a healthy society would require can be had in the worst, most corrupt African country, in any part of the world. We can all have that if we simply change that one thing. John F. Kennedy did that about 6 months before he was taken out. He issued United States notes as opposed to Federal Reserve notes. I can assure you the powers that be knew the power of that act, and they took him right out. So the bottom line is, if we as people understand this very simple principle, just this one thing, change this one thing, we can solve every other problem you can name. I don't care what the problem is. I can bring it back to the financial system and an infinite supply of money for a bunch of psychopaths who are running the world, as opposed to an abundant supply of money for all of us. So in that sense, I'm very optimistic. This is not rocket science. I am not the smartest guy in the room. We can all understand this. And as soon as we do, we can exercise the same power that we had, but relinquished, and we can have a future for ourselves and our children. There's a lot to be optimistic about, quite frankly.
transform yourself. You can't make yourself sane, you can't make yourself loving, you can't make yourself unselfish. And yet it's absolutely necessary that we be that way. It's absolutely necessary. If we are going to hand over the direction of nature to nature, which is what it comes to, it's absolutely necessary that we let go of ourselves, and it can't be done. Not by anything that we call doing it, acting, willing, or even just accepting things. You can't do it. Why? Because you don't really exist as that kind of a separate ego or personality. It's just an idea based on a phony feeling. So when it comes down to it, it's shocking news for us, for the human race, for our pride. You're only making a mess by trying to put things straight. You're trying to straighten out a wiggly world, and no wonder you're in trouble. So you can't do anything. So you can't transform yourself. And what can you do? What happens then if you actually realize you've come to a dead end? And the human race has come to a dead end, in my opinion. What then? Commit suicide? Or is there something else? What happens when you just wait? There's nothing you can do. You watch. And all you see is what goes on that is happening of itself. You're breathing, the wind is blowing, the trees are waving, your blood is circulating, your nerves are tingling. It's all going on of itself. But you know, that's you. That's the real you. The you that goes on of itself. It's not the symbol. It's not the person. It's you that's happening, as when you breathe. Yes, you can get the feeling that I am breathing by shoving your breath, but your breath goes on day in and day out without your doing anything about it or even thinking of it. The same way your brain is functioning without your forcing it. So when you come to a dead end, and we are individually and socially now in 1971 at a dead end, this is the moment of which it is said man's extremity is God's opportunity. Because we have to stop. And when we stop, we find a world that is happening rather than being done, being shoved. And that happening, as distinct from doing, is our fundamental self. And our fundamental self is not something just inside the skin. It's everything around us with which we connect. When you look out of your eyes at nature happening out there, you're looking at you. I'm not going to say what we should do from then on, but simply that before we think of doing anything in this critical situation, we realize the completely illusory nature of the beings that we think we are, and get back again to the beings that we really are, which includes all this outside world, no longer left outside.
Slow, or the air into There we are. All right. Welcome. How'd you like that? Pretty nice introduction there today. I have a good feeling about today. I'm not exactly sure why. Maybe I should go ask chat. See what you guys are doing. Can't believe it's already Saturday again. It's incredible to be here again with you guys. I wanted to tell you, as I look over here on my lovely friends, how much you guys mean to me. How much you guys mean to me. I really thank you for making this a great place. Thank you. Hey, Shan. How you doing? Hi, Survive and Thrive. Welcome back. Rising XC. Hello. Thank you, friend. Oh, look at your great looking dog. Yes. Aren't those called Landseers or something like that? So, they're huge dogs. Beautiful, beautiful dogs. Great looking dog there. Outstanding. Lancelot Dufresne. Hello. Welcome. Glad that you're here. Nice. Hi, Linda. Great looking pup there. Nice. Nice. Hi, Verbal. Welcome back, buddy. Looks like one of Robin Hood's members. Sherwood Forest. You know, I hadn't even thought about that, but you're right. That's funny. Hi, Verbal. Thank you for that. Hi, Gail. Welcome. Hello. Hello. Hello, my friend. Hello, Leon. Welcome. I'm looking forward to some good questions from you guys today. I had a good conversation. It was interesting on, let's see, it was, I think it was Wednesday night. And it was like, I think it was like 2 a.m. And I get an email from Felipe in France. He's one of my friends that I met in chat. He's a composer. And so he and I get along great because I get along great with musicians. And so he and I have kind of had a little back and forth from time to time on email. And so he writes me at like 1:30, 2 a.m. and he's like, is there any way that we can talk? And I'm like, heck yeah, dude, let's Zoom. So I shoot him a Zoom link, and it was so great to see him. He has such a beautiful family. I think they live in France. His wife is Japanese, and he had Japanese formal garb on in the picture that he showed me. He looks so handsome, and they look great. Beautiful family. So I like talking to Felipe. So we had a little discussion for about half an hour about Zen, and I so enjoyed it. And then the next day, on Thursday, I got to talk Formula One for 2 hours with some folks from chat. And then we talked consciousness expansion for about an hour, 45 minutes, an hour after we talked Formula One. So it's been a good week. And then Friday, we had our Zoom meeting with the group. We finished up our work in the Flower of Life and had a nice ending to that talk. So that was really great. So I've been interacting with you guys since Wednesday. It's fantastic. I so love having you in my life. I enjoy talking with you and interacting with you. I like the Q&A more than anything. I like it more than presenting anything that I put together because it's live, it's raw, unedited, unexpected, and you never know what's going to come out. So yeah, good times. I'm going to go down to the new comments and let's see what is happening down there. Thank you, Leon. Thank you, friend. I love you too, Clueless. It was so great meeting you at Zen, my friend. It was so great meeting you. That was outstanding. Do I ship my hoodies to Australia? I'm sure I could. Where is it? Here. I'm sure I could. I would just have to find out what the shipping cost is. It's about $22, $25 to ship them anywhere in the US. So it'd probably be around double that, maybe a little less. I hope so. That's what I want this place to be. I love your Flower of Life insignia there. That's beautiful. Yes, I want this place to be food for people's souls. Yeah, very true. Very true. It's really a shame what they've done to the racing this year. I'm hoping the regulations change, but I know you guys don't want to talk for anyone here, and that's not what we're here to talk about, but it will hopefully get better. Hi, Brock. Welcome. Ooh, tightrope walker. Nice. Isn't that the way life is? Hello, Arizona, Elaine. Happy to be here, Chuck, and thank you. And this time, you're welcome. I want to send you an email sometime on my Melanite Mennonite Exodus. We could have a talk, couldn't we? You should come to Zen. I would love to talk to you on Zen. We could talk about your Exodus. I really appreciate your work here. You're welcome. It's such incredible soul food. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Here we are. It is. I've been sailing one time on a catamaran, and it was one of the most amazing experiences of my life. It was incredible. When you're just hauling the mail and there's no sound, there's no motor, and all you hear is the waves, striking the boat. I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible. It's incredibly Zen. Incredibly Zen. Good evening, Chase. Welcome here. Look at your photo. Greatness. I love people with a good sense of humor. That's greatness. Yeah, sorry. Jenny's corrected. I say that we meet for Zen. No, we're meeting on Zoom on Friday. Sorry. I do that all the time, and you guys know that by now. I say things and I mean another word, or I read a word and I don't even say the word, and I read it 2 or 3 times and I'll say it wrong. I don't know what that is. It's a weird thing. I also have something's wrong with my throat. It has been since I was a child, but sometimes when I'm breathing, I'll breathe in like a drop of saliva or something, and it'll make me cough like crazy. Jenny will tell you all about it, but I have my coughing fits too, which kind of gets in the way, but on we travel. Hi, Mel. Welcome. Hope you're doing okay these days. Yes, I do. I play the drums, my friend, and I love playing them, and it's so interesting. I'm kind of taking it as a sign that you just brought that up, because I'm thinking about making an announcement today. I find it interesting that you asked that. I find it interesting that you asked that. Should I just go ahead and tell you guys my idea? I'm a bit afraid to tell you because it's opening a really big can. It's opening a very big can, and I'm not the kind of guy that is okay with disappointing people. And so if I open the can, I ain't gonna disappoint. I ain't gonna disappoint. Thanks, Scooter. Appreciate that, buddy. And I love seeing you in Zoom. Missed you this week. What is this, Shan? We see the... I'm not sure you see this one. Nice. Well, my friend Jesse, you have just opened the can, my friend. Wow, you play keys too. Nice, my friend. So this is what I want to do. This is something I have thought about for a long time, and I feel like now that the chat has developed so much and I've hopefully attracted some musicians, I have an idea. So I've been thinking about this for a long time. I have always wanted to be in a band. Okay, I've always wanted to be in a band. And I have been thinking, what is a way that I could integrate chat into developing a band? And so I had this idea, and I've been running around this idea, and I finally think I've got it pieced together enough to be able to present it as a energy to throw out into the atmosphere, and let's see what happens. Let's see what you guys do with this. But I want to start a band, and I want to call it Nonplussed. And I want it to be composed of the people in the chat. I want it to be composed of the people here. But I know that I don't want it to be just a giant community band. You know, we got 50 people. What are you going to do with that? So I at the same time, I know that there's more than one person that can play guitar in my chat. I know there's more than one person that can sing. I know there's more than one person that can play keyboard. And I know that there's more than one of each of those that plays it extremely well. And so I started thinking, okay, I open up this can, and so I start having auditions and people sending me recordings of themselves. And I know what will happen is I'll get, probably 4 or 5 guitarists that will want to play in the band, and all of them will be outstanding. And yet I can't have a band where we've got, 5, 6, 7 guitarists. It just, you got to have some siblings here. Don't worry, I got a plan. And so I'm thinking, well, I don't want this to become a big negative nanny thing where people are, wanting to be in the band and then, they don't get picked. And then it becomes nasty, you know, and then they don't like me anymore, or they get offended or something like that. And I don't want to do that either. And so this is the way I want to solve it. So I am an extremely eclectic musician. As you guys know from watching my intros, I like everything from classic to metal, and I like them all the same, meaning I like them a lot. It's not like, well, I tolerate classical or I tolerate metal. I like them both. I like 80s music. I like all different kinds of bands from the 70s. I love classic rock music. And so here's another thing. I didn't want the band to, you know, obviously it's a cover band initially. I didn't want it to be just one genre, because I don't want to just play 70s rock. I don't just want to play 80s rock. I don't just want to play, you know, rewritten classical music for metal. You know, I don't want to be in just one thing. And so this was a way to use the assets of the chat, because I knew that every one of these musicians is going to have different genres of music that they really prefer and they specialize in, and they would do really well to play. In other words, we need to hear them. And that was the core thing, was I wanted this band to be a foundation for others to meet one another, and then they go out and form their own band. One of the things that I always see happen in bands is like what happened in Metallica, where some of the band members want to go and do their own music, and then you've got, you know, the head band guy or whatever, gal, that's like, no, you'll be a competing band against us, and we're not down with that. See, I don't want any of that competition. I want to encourage and integrate and bring about connection between people musically. And then as people connect musically, you guys go and do your thing, form your band. And then that will allow Nonplussed to be able to play any genre. I'll suggest a piece, let's say like we do Master of Puppets by Metallica. And so I pick out some guitarists, you know, and all the members that we would need to play that song, and then do it, record it, you know, put it all together. And I got ways to do all that. I recorded and engineered music for over 15 years. I did live sound for over 15 years. I've done hundreds of concerts. I've run engineering for hundreds of concerts. I've engineered and mixed every band imaginable. I've mixed classical orchestras, over 50 people. I've mixed soloists with acoustic guitar. I've mixed and everything in between, every form of music. And so I like it all. And so this Nonplussed will be able to do cover music for every genre, from 60s to 70s to 80s to 90s to 2000s music, right? Nonplussed can handle it. And then none of the members are pigeonholed into just one music. They can meet another one in the band, say, hey, I love the way you played that. Let's get something together. And then they go do their thing. And then Nonplussed just remains this morphing musical bastion that's just making great music, inspiring other musicians to meet one another, get together, and then they go out and make music. Because the whole, you know, my thing is everyone finds their art and gifts, and then that is what changes the world. And I want this band to be that. I want this band to inspire that. I want this band to be a leverage, a stepping stone for other musicians to meet, conglomerate together, and then go do your thing and make the world even more beautiful. And if I can be the ignition, the igniter of that, bueno. I have the thing is, and this is another thing, there's going to be people that are motivated where, like, look, man, if I'm going to spend, 2-3 hours recording this thing, I want my profits from that. And what you need to know is Nonplussed is not going to be a group where we're going to be going out to make a bunch of money. We are forming together for the love of each other and the love of music. Okay? That's the reason for the band. The reason for the band isn't to make a bunch of money. The reason for the band isn't to get super popular and everybody loves them and everything and loves us and wants that. That's not it. The purpose of the band is to gather love and musicians together and then inspire love and music from that space. So that's what I want to do. So here's the thing. I'll show you guys something that I made this week. So I got here. Sorry, I'll take this off here. So band will be called Nonplussed. I'm the drummer and the backup vocals. Now hang on. all of you two drummers that are watching us understand, I'm not going to be the only drummer. Some of the songs that the band members, the hardcore band members will want to play, I won't have the skill set to play. Listen, guys, let me make something really clear up front here. I know and completely understand and accept that I'm not the best or even close to the best drummer that's ever lived. I am completely aware of that. I know that there are many drummers in my chat that are better than me. I'm not into, hey, I want to be the guy. I am totally happy. If the band wants to do a song and I just simply don't have the skill set to play it, by God, you'll be the first guy or gal I'm going to call to come and do the cover. Because we're not going to be limited. This is another thing with Nonplussed. We're not going to be limited by the skill set of the members. All right. And I promise you, there are going to be groups that come out of Nonplussed that will be better than Nonplussed ever was. And I celebrate that. There is no ego. If you have a big ego and you want to be something on a stick in this band, sorry, we're not for you. If you're into the show and you want to be this big thing and, make this big statement, sorry, no time. This is an egoless man. We are in this for the love of each other and the love of music. Period. If you want money, if you want popularity, if you want to be the scene and be the thing, great. Go form your own band and do it. Nonplussed is not for you. Nonplussed is for the people that love music and are in this for music and in this because they love the world, one another, and want to beautify. Okay? That is what we want. Okay? So back to the list. All right, we need a second percussionist. I'll be the drummer and backup vocals on songs that I can do. And then I'll just pass this stuff off for the stuff I can't play. We'll need a second percussionist, obviously, or third, or fourth. Fortune is going to be the bass. If Fortune can't play the song or doesn't want to play the song, we can get another bass player. I need 2 to 3 guitarists. I need lead and rhythm specialties. I need a keyboardist, which I think would be Felipe. Now, Felipe is a classical music artist. I don't know if Felipe does rock and roll. We're going to do plenty of 1970s rock, I promise you. So if that's not Felipe's gig, I'll need a keyboardist that can play like Moog synthesizers and stuff that you need for 70s music. And then we need a good vocalist. I would prefer a female lead. But again, I shouldn't have put females only, sorry. Again, it's open. I just prefer a female lead because I think females are attractors and they're very good as a lead singer because they carry an attractive energy that just is a good front for a band. But I'm not saying that we can't have a male vocalist. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I like female vocalists, even for metal. I like female vocalists because of the energy that the female carries that guys don't carry. Only females carry that kind of energy. First song, obviously, it'll be my favorite song of all time, which is Misty Mountain Hop. We're going to do a lot of Led Zeppelin to get started here. Misty Mountain Hop, Custard Pie, Nobody's Fault But Mine. Okay? Celebration Day. These are my favorite all-time songs from Led Zeppelin. So those will be the first one we do. And I'll tell you how it's going to go down. So what we'll do is I'm going to record the song off of basically the master recording off of YouTube. So all the timing is correct. So that we're tied up to quote unquote SMPTE time code. All right. The first thing you do when you go into the recording studio is you lay down your drumming tracks. The drummer is the first thing to lay things down. Then your bass player comes in, then your guitarists come in, then your keyboards, and then your vocal to finish things off. So we will follow that exact, studio method that I used for, my entire music career. So I'll lay down the basic tracks. I'll then, in the meantime, you guys can send me auditions. And then I'll find the musicians that can play the songs, that can play them well, and have their own thing. I'm not looking to have every single note that every band member played in these covers. I'm looking for you to come out and bring your glory, baby. That's why I want to be a platform for you as a gifted musician to show your stuff. That's what I want. I want when people listen to this music to love it because it's selfless and it is pure for the music. I'm going to have my own style. I have my own ways of playing those Led Zeppelin songs. I'll play a lot exactly the same way John played, but I'm going to have my own fills. I'll have my own gig that I'll do. And I want the same from you guys as musicians. I want you to bring your thing. I'm not looking to paste just a copy. I want Nonplussed to have its own emotional place, you know? And so we will start there. Then we're going to move to doing some Aerosmith, Walk This Way. We'll do some Metallica, Judas Kiss. It's one of my all-time favorite songs to play. All Nightmare Long, The God That Failed. And then let's do some 70s. Heart, Magic Man, Under the Sky. Andy Taylor did a great one called Take It Easy, which is a great 80s song. Power Station, Bang a Gong, another great 80s song. Lita Ford, Can't Catch Me. I cannot wait to play that song with Fortune. That song, I've got in my head a totally different production for that piece. And the bass and drums chase each other the whole song. It's fantastic, and it's a really good groove. Megadeth, The Killing Road, Victory, and Psychotron. Depeche Mode, Halo, Ugly Kid Joe, So Damn Cool, Everything About You, Neighbor. Those are all great songs from Ugly Kid Joe. White Zombie, More Human Than a Human. Frogleaf Studios did a great cover of Feel Good I would like to repeat. That's really good. Deep Purple, Space Truckin'. I mean, we've got to do that, don't we? Space Truckin'? Come on. We've got to play some Deep Purple. Okay, here's what also you guys need. Know on the front end, there ain't going to be any vocal correction we ain't doing. We ain't playing that game, okay? The singer is going to be able to sing, okay? If you can't sing, don't bother applying. The singer is going to be able to sing on pitch. There will be no pitch correction. There'll be none of that digital stuff, okay? Talent. That's what's going to undergird this, because what happens is when you've got I've watched this happen in real time. When you've got a band and you've got a weak link, someone who thinks that they're better than they are, the entire band suffers. That's not going to happen in Nonplussed. It's not going to happen. We're going to have players that can play. That's why I picked the songs that I did. That's why you guys are seeing those songs that I picked. Those are songs I can play. And if I can't play them now, I can play them within a month or two of practice. Okay? I can play these songs. And that's why I picked them. And this is, again, why I said those aren't going to be the only songs we're going to have. We'll have other songs. And after we begin to gel and we do a number of pieces with the different band members and different people from chat, you guys will begin to sprout just like a garden. It'll be just like a garden, and some guitarist is going to find a keyboardist, or some singer is going to hear a bass player, whatever, that they totally groove with, and I want them to contact that person and say, hey, I love the way you play. Let's form a band, or let's do some side work together. Okay? So that's what I want to do. I don't even have a freaking drum set, so I don't even know how this is going to start, but somehow we're going to get this done. And what I really want to do then is have this be a place where music and love are integrated right into what we do. And I would love to eventually have some of the songs that we record to use those in my videos on Saturdays and have those be the intro songs for the videos. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Tell me what you think. I just went to the bottom of chat. Tell me what you think. And if you have questions, ask me in all caps. What do you think? What do you guys think of my idea? Do you guys want to do it? Do we got some players that want to do it? And it doesn't matter where you're at in the United States or in the world. It doesn't matter. You guys, listen. What you'll do is you'll record yours. You'll send it to me. Obviously, after you're in the band, you'll send it to me, and then I'll just mix it down. I completely know how to do mix down everything. And again, I don't have, as you can see, I don't have any equipment. I don't know how this is going to happen. I am throwing this energy into the universe. I'm taking this idea and I'm just throwing it out there, and I'm just going to see what happens. Just going to see what happens. Yeah, that's a great song. I love to play that song. That's a fantastic song. Do you? Do you like it, Survive and Thrive? I thought it would be a great way for us to connect as a group. I love music. Finally, we'll be able to start a band. And the greatest part about it is that it's not just a set band. It'll just have different members coming in and out doing specialties. Isn't that awesome? I mean, how awesome is that? We get a keyboardist that's like a Led Zeppelin specialist. They may not be able to play classical or pop or 80s or whatever, but they can freaking play 70s rock. Okay? And that's what I want. It's like, okay, that dude, that gal, we're going to put them in the band for these songs. And how awesome is that? They then now display their skill set. They are in their musical pocket. They feel good about playing. They like the music. I mean, come on, people. Come on, people. It'd be fantastic. Every little bit helps. Thanks, Gail. Whatever it takes. What do you guys think? Do you guys want to do it? If I can learn to play it, I'll do it. I'll do it. Yeah, that's it. And what inspiration would that be for a person to begin to practice and improve their playmanship? Get in the band. Do you guys want to do it? Do you? Sounds fun. I have a decent home recording setup, so happy to play ball. Heck yeah, Jesse. Heck yeah, dude. Heck yeah. After, let's let this settle for a week, and then I'll come back next week, and maybe we can start developing a way to get this started, because I have no idea how to get started. I have no idea how it will happen, but I want to inspire this. Okay. Second thing I wanted to tell you guys. Second thing. Guess who approached me this week on, I think it was Sunday or Monday. I was approached, or I think it was, no, it's Sunday, Monday. So I was approached by a professional web designer. And he said to me, I totally love your work and what you do, Chuck. And I would totally love to help your effort in any way that I can. And he said, do you need a website? I'd love to build your website for you. And so for free, this guy is going to build the website. Folks, this means that my live will be able to be uncensored. Like the video that I started today with that had all the censoring, where I had to censor everything, I had to put it into a cartoon so that it wouldn't be censored. I wouldn't have to do that anymore. I could do live. Basically, I could do the entire KM series again and just make it even more intense and make it even more real. That will allow a library, a place where you guys can go and you can download the PDFs, any movie that I've made, meaning any video, any of the lives, all in one section, all organized. I'm going to redo my book so that the recordings don't have a long front or tail end, and you'll be able to just roll right through the recording without there being any big pauses, because there was a mess up in the production when I was trying to get that posted. So I can get that corrected. My book will obviously be available to you. I'll have my book available on PDF. So if you want to download it, you'll be able to download it on PDF for yourself or whoever, all for free. And then during my lives, I can just basically have a donations tab. And if you guys want to donate towards my effort and what I'm doing, you can. Nice and easy. All in one hub. And then I can continue to advertise on YouTube and X and Facebook and so on and so forth, that I'm there. And this will ensure that I won't get censored, that I don't have to censor myself, that I won't suddenly be, removed from social media, and it will be a hub for all of my work. And I think that we can do this. I think we could do this within a month. I think I could have it up and running in a month. Yes? Yeah. Gonna do it. Gonna do it. Yesterday was Wednesday. Actually, today is Saturday, and yesterday was Thursday, or Friday. Sorry. Are you in another time zone? Maybe you're in another time zone. Thank you. Yeah, isn't that incredible? The guy called me up. He emailed me, and he said, "Dude, I'm available for you if you want to help." He's like this highfalutin web designer, has been in it for over 15 years, and he literally just laid this at my table. Isn't that incredible? Isn't that incredible? Yeah. It'll be available to all you guys. Totally amazing. Yeah, it would be amazing. Yeah, the webpage is incredible. That'd be awesome. I totally want to do it. I'm going to do it. Yeah, totally going to do it. Yeah. Good deal. Okay. What other announcement did I have? It seemed like there was something else on there I wanted to mention. Oh, yeah. So this week was really interesting. I was doing a review. One of the things I like to do is present to you guys challenging material. And so I was listening to Joseph Campbell lecture, one on religion, which is next week. And then I've got another one where he was talking about the jumps in the evolutionary record. And he was talking about how they have found all these different skeletal remains of former human-like beings in the ground here on the planet. And Joe gave these talks, I think they were in the 60s. And as you know, back then, they didn't have the common language that you and I now enjoy, whereby we can talk about aliens, we can talk about cataclysms on the planet, we can talk about former worlds that were here, we can talk about the pyramids not being built by humans. This is all common accepted language now. And so that was not the case back when Joe was recording these recordings. And obviously, had he said anything like I just mentioned, he would have been locked up in a loony bin. So it was so interesting. And this is the irony of the whole thing. So I'm sitting here listening to him talk, and he's going through, the Cro-Magnon man and Homo habilis man. And he was just going through all of these different characters that were genetic precursors to human being precursors genetically. And what was so interesting was he said, there are these massive changes in the jaw structure, the mouth structure, and the overall height and body mass, because you can tell a body mass by bone thickness and density of these creatures. And he said, you're finding these creatures because they have better dating now than carbon dating. This came up during Zoom. Carbon dating isn't the only way they date this stuff. Some of this stuff is plasma dated, and it's much more accurate. Well, he realized, or he talked about how they had they had dated these bones back 1,800,000 years. And as you guys know, Bruce Fenton, who did that video intro that I did where he talked about the pucks of metal that landed on the planet, and there was that big debris field. Do you guys remember my showing that video? And Bruce Fenton explained this whole thing that went down something like 800,000 years ago. Well, this was so interesting. This completely coincided with what Bruce Fenton was saying here just, in the last few years, was matching the common unknown connecting aspect of why these different beings were making such enormous genetic jumps in such short periods of time. They go from having fangs that are this long to having no fangs and nothing but molars. And that's a genetic change that would take, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years to happen naturally. And Joe was saying there's no way this stuff happened naturally. And I thought to myself, of course, because we've been genetically modified. As you guys know, we've been repeatedly genetically modified, and they have covered over those worlds with cataclysms. They've genetically modified the human being. They've allowed that human being to be the food for a while, and then they wipe out the planet. Then they bring another form of genetic being of human beings, and they let them grow and thrive, and they're slaves, and not thrive, but grow in the sense of population, but they're slaves. And you have this common theme of new genetic marker, total cataclysm, new genetic marker, new sociology, new way of being, and then a wipeout. New genetic marker, new human being, new city, then a flood, and then it wipes it all out. And we see this again and again. And it was so interesting to hear Joe talk about these changes in the genetics as they matched the development to what we are now. And it completely eliminated what evolution requires, which is, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years between each of these species. And within one lecture, you instantly know, well, evolution can't be true in the sense of human development as they have laid it out. Really, really interesting. And I'm hoping to bring that lecture to you guys here in a couple weeks, simply for you guys to see. And this really reinforces my theory in that we are in a great awakening. And we are learning more and more about the heretical history, the heretical spirituality that we have been caught in. We're awakening to that. And it's so interesting to hear past lecturers, past gurus, talk about the same thing we're talking about and not understand. Like Joe didn't understand how these creatures could have made those jumps because science didn't, offer a solution for that. But now, through human development and awareness, we now can easily explain, well, of course, that's what was happening. They were just genetically changing us, and then they just throw a new population onto the scene, and then just let them do their thing, feed off of them, eat them for years or whatever, and then just wipe them out and redo it. And a lot of people don't realize that this has been going on so long that the Earth became a hub. If you think that they are consuming 800,000 or so kids every year by themselves, I'm sorry, folks, this stuff is off planet. Those bodies, some of these bodies are being shipped off planet, live human meat. And they just put them in a can that's got the oxygen and pressure necessary to sustain a human life, and you can ship the bodies live anywhere in the universe. And that's what I mean by a farm. Like the almond farms in California don't consume, like the locals don't eat all the almonds that come out of the thousands of almond trees that Diamond Almonds has in California. They ship those things all over the planet. Why do you think it would be any different with people? Why would that concept stop there? Oh, no. Why would they stop? Why would they not do that? If you're willing to genetically alter a species, put them on a planet and let them breed out till there's millions of them, and then just feeding on them, do you really think they're just going to hoard all that stuff for themselves? Think of this concept. The way you can see the universe is the same way you can imagine the human body. Now, the human body is filled with organs, and it's the organs and the pressures and the stuff that the organ does, the enzymatic function, pumping your heart, filtering blood, filtering all of these organs have different processes. Your liver is your alchemical factory. It does all the chemical exchanges. There are a lot of chemical exchanges that are necessary for your body. Your pancreas gives you all of the insulin that you need so that you can digest the sugars. Okay. They all have a role. All right. It's the same thing in the universe. You have galaxies, and all of these galaxies create a vibrational balance that's necessary for there to be a universe. Okay. That's why they're there. These are spots of compression where you have to have these spots of compression amidst spots of void, of no compression, in order to have a universe. In the same way, in order to have a body, a human body that's alive, you have to have working organs. Okay. And so just extrapolate this out. Now, when you have cancer, it forms typically in your blood, or it'll form in an organ. And then what it does is it then grows there, creates its own blood supply, creates its own energy and nutrient supply, right, in the organ. And then what it does is it eventually begins to take over that organ, and it begins to move out, what's called metastasize. And so what begins to happen is, it's like, well, we've filled up this organ. We're already good here. We need to start attacking the other parts of the system. Right? And so then they send out their troops, right? Cancer cells know what they're doing. They send out their troops, and they go to other organs, and they find ways of infecting the other parts of the body, right? Okay, why would an evil species or spirit behave any differently than the way your body naturally develops cancer? If the universe is going to develop any way, it's going to develop naturally, is it not? Okay, what's the natural way for a parasite to spread? Hive. So it forms a hive, so it finds a galaxy, forms a hive around one of the planets in the galaxy, gets bigger and bigger over millions of years, right? And it just begins to open. And then what happens? Well, it has a larger demand of supplies than their one planet can offer them as an evil enterprise. So you got to expand. Just like when you started growing almond trees for Diamond Almonds back in the day, you start on a few, 100, 200 acres. Well, eventually you need more acres because you got to expand. And why would it be any different with the human population? So now you've got a hybridized planet that's completely captured, and you have all kinds of buyers all around, other evil enterprises that would love to share in your harvest. Why would that not be happening? If you begin to understand this situation that we're in, you need to begin to take these things called limits off of your ideas. Stop limiting yourself to just what's happening on this planet. Start including what's going on in the rest of the solar system, because this is all one body. This is all one event. I'm hoping that this helps render to you how deep this goes. how far and wide it goes. What do you guys see? Yeah, apricot trees. Almond seeds. Almond seeds. What do you guys think? What do you think? You guys don't have thoughts on this. Maybe you don't care. And that's fine. It was an idea. It was an idea I had. Well, as we continue on then, scroll up. Don't you think what I said is near DTP? Okay, I'll scroll up. Depth of emotion creating different nutrients in the bloods like adrenochrome. Yeah. Yeah, it's yeah. But as far as an alien species spreading, how would you do that? How would that go about? And if it's been around for 800,000 years, as suggested by Fenton, who says it's been around since 800 years, he had people go back in time out of body and look at the Earth situation and observe it. And what he found was that it was captured by an evil force and they were harvesting souls. And I went through all of that. I went through all the mechanics of that, how that works. And so my thought was that it would just continue, that concept just continues. Okay, you guys can think about that for a minute. I have something else I want to present to you guys. So did you guys know, this was kind of funny from last week. Here, did you guys know, you guys will not believe this. So remember last week when I was talking about Aleister Crowley? And remember how I said that he bought a place? You guys are not going to believe this. Remember how I said he bought a place by Loch Ness? And it was a former Satanist's home. Remember how I said that? And he bought it because they had already been performing seances and raising demons and everything. And then he bought it. And then he literally carried out all that demonism that we talked about in the Book of Solomon, which we'll look at here in a minute. But he carried all of that out at that house. And it was so depraved and so disgusting what happened there. Eventually the house burned down. It burned down like twice. They rebuilt it. You're not going to believe it. They rebuilt it again. That right there, my friends, is the house rebuilt that Aleister Crowley performed all of his magic in until he unleashed the 12 demons and then abandoned to go and try to save the Golden Dawn. Now, can you imagine someone doesn't know this and they go and they rent that place? Can you imagine the spirits that are there? Can you imagine a couple that mistakenly picks it out as like a honeymoon retreat? There's just one slight downside, ladies and gentlemen. It's just incredible to me. It's just incredible to me. That place exists. You can go there right now. You can go there right now. It's at Loch Ness. You can go there right now and actually go in that house. It's just so insane. This world is just so insane. It's just so crazy. So what I wanted to show you, here's kind of the gist of what I wanted to show you from the Book of Solomon. For any of you that are doubting that this book is not basically the beginnings of communicating the writings of demons and demon languages. Now, there's a gentleman named MacGregor Mathers, S.L. MacGregor Mathers, who has done a tremendous amount of deciphering of this book. And what I want you guys to notice here, we'll look at the symbols here first. What I want you to notice is take in your mind and just imagine and understand that what you are looking at there is not Hebraic symbolism. That's demonic symbolism. Hebrew is simply demonic language. Hebrew was a Canaanite language from the Levant. And these people worshipped El, they worshipped Baal. These people, like El is Saturn. Saturnalia is the religion of these people. And the language, understand, the core language of these demonic enterprises is demonology. This is the writings of demons. This doesn't come out of a human mind. These come out of a demonic mind. Remember when I showed you last week that Hebrew, Phoenicia, and there was one other language. Hebrew was the only one that really went all the way back to the Canaanites. And the language, the formed language came out of a combination of this phonetics of these words, came out of the hieroglyphs of Egypt, and the slaves putting phonic or sound to the hieroglyphs to match the squiggles and lines, the language right there around that circle. See the circle with the Hebrew letters, to coincide with a language they could speak as they engaged in mercantile trade around the Mediterranean Sea. This stuff comes out from practicality. And the language that these Canaanites, these ancient El Baal worshiping Canaanites, developed was Hebrew. Essentially, it's Canaanite, but it's called Hebrew. And it was taught, in my opinion, from my research, by demons. It's demon writing. That's why it looks the way it does. That's why it sounds the way it does. It's demonic. Now, this was from the book. This was some interesting connections I wanted you guys to see to show that all Western religions are based on this crap. All right. Now, at the top there is a portion of the book. So after this, he shall see the spirits come from every side. This is talking about conjuring demons and the effectiveness of this book to conjure demons. And so it's preparing the demonologist who is engaging this, or the Satanist, for what's to come and how to perform these rituals. This book lays it out all for you, and it lays it out for you in Hebrew. So understand, it is explaining demonology, raising demons, raising evil with Hebrew, the Hebrew language, Canaanite language. Okay, understand. Okay. But in case they are occupied in some other place, or that they cannot come, or they are unwilling to come, then let them commence afresh to invoke them after the following manner, and let the exorcist be assured that even were they bound with chains of iron and with fire, they could not refrain from coming to accomplish his will. And what you need to understand is, what that book is saying is, this book and these methodologies to raise demons and talk to the dead and so on and so forth, right, are effective. And they are so effective that you can actually force these powerful spirits to you for them to do your bidding. This book is explaining that, and we have the living testimony of those who have used this book, as well as Aleister Crowley, who explained it. He explained it, that it works. Okay, here's something else you need to see. This invocation references cores of the Zohar. The Zohar. You guys know what that is? That's Hebrew mysticism. What is Hebrew mysticism? Demonology. What do you think the Ashkenazi Jews are studying? Hebrew mysticism, the Kabbalah. These are demonic enterprises. The language that undergirds the Old Testament, Hebrew, is a demonic language. Are you guys making the connection? I mean, it is clear as day. The Zohar is the central book of Kabbalistic teachings. Jewish mysticism seems to be straight up demonology, and I'm going to freaking show it to you here next. Demons speak Hebrew. They taught the Canaanites how to talk. Who do you think the Canaanites found that out from? Seriously, there is an invocation bearing the title of the Kabbalistic Invocation of Solomon. Isn't it so interesting that Solomon is engaging in these invocations of demons, given by Eliphas Levi? Wait! Eliphas Levi? Well, isn't Eliphas Levi the guy that drew that center figure right there? I mean, even see his name right there at the bottom, Eliphas Levi. How interesting. So it seems that Eliphas Levi, who drew this and was a part of all of this demonic stuff, right, is contributing to the book. Contributing to the book. That's clear demonology, which differs in many points from the one given above, though resembling it in some particulars. Levi's is more evidently constructed on the plan indicated in the Zephyrah. I can't even pronounce that, Zenothia or something like that. And I found that out. I found out what that was to clarify this. But what I want you to know before we go to that page is what this statement says. It links Kabbalah, Jewish mysticism, the book, King Solomon of the Old Testament, Freemasonry from Levi, because Eliphas Levi was a Freemason, Satanism with Baphomet, and conjuring demons. Do you guys understand? This little side note here in this commentary from this guy here, this guy here, right? He's clarifying, listen, this statement links Jewish mysticism, King Solomon, Freemasonry, Satanism, and conjuring demons. And if you question that, please go to this site right here that says www.academia.edu, the Key of Solomon, and it will explain it to you. And I'm going to show you the symbols now. Now, this is that book. It referenced right here. Look at the pink part where it says 25 to the right of Baphomet. Look to the right of there. And it says Sifra Disinothia. What that is, it's a mystical poetry or coded revelation over straightforward teaching. Mathers, that's the interpreter, described it as the root and foundation of the Zohar is in this book. And we know who's using the Zohar. We know what mysticism is. We know what the Ashkenazi Jews are doing. We know what the KM is. What I'm trying to tell you, folks, is this is one of the core books. That's what I'm trying to show you. It's one of the core teaching books for this group. You want to know what those guys are doing in New York in the basement when they pull out the bloody mattresses? They're doing this stuff. They're doing Kabbalistic Jewish mysticism, which is a cover for straight up demonology. Just like they use the name Ashkenazi Jews as a cover up for being Jews. Do you understand this? Okay. Modern scholars date this thing's competition from the late 13th century in Spain, likely by Moses de Leon. It is what the content of it is. It's deliberately obscure, poetic, and oracular, full of symbolic language. Remember how I told you guys the occult is an oral tradition? It's an oral tradition. You are not going to find a book that describes how you torture a child. That is conveyed master to acolyte. That is not conveyed in writing. You show them the process and you teach them verbally. It's too grotesque to write it down. Follow? The equilibrium of balance before creation. This is what this book, the core of the Zohar, contains. The equilibrium of balance of pure creation, the macroprosopus, the greater countenance or infinite hidden aspect of God, and the microprosopus, the lesser countenance or manifested divine personality. Follow? The Sephiroth, these are the divine emanations, these are demons. The kings of ancient times, symbolizing failed or unbalanced worlds before our own. Why do you think they were failed and unbalanced? Because they're being run by demons. The kings of ancient times were demonologists. This is their language. Folks, this is just the language being passed down. The emergence of divine from nothingness before there's equilibrium, countenance held not countenance and countenance. And this is where they're saying that Yaldabaoth was the creator, a demon. Where do you think the Jewish mystics got that idea? This freaking book, the poetry of this book, the root and foundation of the Zohar. The root and foundation of the Zohar is demonology and raising demons and commanding them, written by King Solomon of the Old Testament. How about them apples? How about them apples? How about them apples? S.L. McGregor Mathers, the same occultist who produced the most popular edition of the Key of Solomon, translated in 1887 as part of his book, The Kabbalah Unveiled. See, there it is. The Kabbalah Unveiled. And why did he say you're unveiling the fact that it's demonology? It's not Jewish. It's demonology, straight up. Straight up. That's why it is so disgusting. That's why these people are so disgusting, because they are living under the aegis of demonology. This is the version most Western occultists. Oh, here we go. And the Golden Dawn students have read. So if you're wondering what is the required reading for a demonologist, this book. This book. You can find it free online as sacred text under the Kabbalah Unveiled. Sephora de Sylvia, however you pronounce that thing. And then the plan indicated in the footnote, book 1, chapter 5 of S.L. McGregor Mather's 1889 edition of the Key of Solomon, refers to a specific Kabbalistic structural scheme for constructing a conjuration invocation. Right there is your evidence that Kabbalah is for conjuration and invocation of demons. There it is. Black and white, right in front of you. I'm showing you Western religion is based on demonology. I am showing it to you folks because the Old Testament or the New Testament is the fulfillment of the Old Testament, and the Old Testament is freaking demonology. How about them apples? Do you guys understand? Do you guys understand the deception? Do you understand what's going to happen to all the Christians and all the Islamists and all of the Western religious people when they find this out? Boom. I've got the book. I got the book written by King Solomon. Yes. Here. I used to not believe that. I now believe that. Yes. Silver Soul, thank you for that. That is exactly correct. When you guys see, what's this? Here, I'll go back to that in a minute. When you guys see this, sorry. When you guys see this, what you will realize is when they refer to angels, when they refer to God, they're not referring to the Hebrew or to the idea of God given to you by the Bible. That's not who they're referring to. The Old Testament is referring to basically Yaldabaoth, basically the Gnostic God, a demon. Yahweh, I showed you this last week. Matter of fact, watch. Are the equations I'm going to come back to that question. Hang on. Look. Here it is. Right here, we link the Canaanite god El, that's Saturn, that's Satan, with the Old Testament god Adonai. Right there, Adonai and El, according to this book, are the same creature as names of the same Almighty God. Whoops, is exactly right. All of these are to be drawn with a knife or consecrated instrument of art. Do you see what's happening? They're drawing the stuff in the ground with a knife. Does that sound like a holy enterprise, or does that sound like demons? When you're drawing stuff in the ground with a knife. And within these 4 circles, thou must write. See, you're drawing out the circles. This is demonism. These 4 circles, thou must write these 4 names of God, the most holy one, in this order. So this book now links El, Al, Yah, Ih, Agla, Adi, which is Adonai. This book shows you that all of those are the same God. So when you hear people talk about Adonai in the Old Testament or El, do you realize they're talking about Satan? Do you realize that? And the deception is that you think it's a holy God, meaning the God of the universe, so to speak, the energy of the universe. They're talking about an evil creature. And the deception is that all the Christians and all the Islamists and all the Western religionists think they're worshiping, the Almighty God of the universe, when really, when they call out El, or they call out Adonai, or they call out Yahweh, or they call out Jesus, they're calling to Lucifer. They're calling to Lucifer. They're praying to Lucifer. They're praying to Yaldabaoth. That's the deception. That's going to be the big whammy, the big bad news that's going to happen in the Great Awakening. You watch when 80% of the United States finds out that they have been worshiping Lucifer. And I got the book that links it all right here. I got it. And it's proven that it works because Crowley went and did the work. Yes, Crowley went and did the work. Concerning the arts. Here we go. Now we're going to show that baptism is actually a demonic event. Are you ready for this? And I was baptized. Isn't that nice? Isn't that nice? You find out later that not only do I find out that I was worshiping Satan, but I was also getting baptized. And that's a satanic, demonic, quenching activity. Ready? All the preparations which the master of art and his disciples must undertake before constructing the circle. Remember, you got to create the circle to keep the demon from eating you. All right, now we're going to show that baptism is actually an ancient satanic priest affair or rite, a demonic consecration rite that was twisted into the Christian consecration rite of saving one's soul. Can't you see it? Total deception on every level of everything that you have ever known or experienced. It's happening, folks. This is the Great Awakening. People just think that it's a small thing. No, no, no. This is the collapse of the world as you know it. Collapse. So that the actual truth can come out. That's why all this stuff is collapsing. The rite of saving one's soul, which the Catholic Church still teaches. Can you see the revelation of the method and the egregore in place? See, by your engaging that baptismal activity, you are saying, I'm okay with this. I roll with this. It's necessary for my baptism because I am an unclean spirit. Why is the priest engaging in this cleansing? Because they consider themselves an unclean spirit, meaning they are purifying their bodies so that they can engage in the ritual. You guys need to understand those satanic priests consider those rituals as holy. They consider them a holy process. The demons that come to them, they consider angels. You need to understand the deception level here. That's what they consider. They don't care what you think it is. That's what they think it is. That's what they use it for. And that's why they taught you to worship all their gods. That's why they did that. You're worshiping their gods and they laugh at you. Isn't that just like a Satanist to do something like that, that they would get you to worship the gods that they're sacrificing your children to? Wouldn't that just be the ultimate deception that a Satanist would love to do? Is knowing that that person is praying to the same God that you're sacrificing their children to. How about them apples? Let's go to your question here and I'll get back to it. Are the equations of science and goals just a continuation of these occult practices, discoveries cloaked in a new dogmatism? They look so similar and not most are educated in understanding it. Yes. What you need to understand is they took all of those signs, they took the Hebrew language, they took all the names of these demons and this energy, and they coerced the society to worship that power. Not realizing the society, not realizing what they were actually worshiping. That's the great deception. That's the great deception. The entire population follows a science, a medical science that harms them. They follow a geological, atmospheric science that harms them, right? Because they believe the science. They follow a governmental system that they think is protecting them that actually harms them. They're asking the president to help them when actually the president is a Satanist. Do you see? And by asking these individuals for help and depending on them and all this stuff, asking Jesus for help and so forth, do you see how they've kept the population in the madness? That's why there's been no spiritual growth for 2,000 years, because these people are still praying to Satan, essentially. That's why there's been no growth out of Christianity or out of Islam, for that matter. Those are all cover stories for this demonology that undergirds all the Western spirituality. It's the whole thing is a ruse. The whole thing is a cover. Do you guys understand? Do you guys understand? Do you guys understand? That's a great question. What you do now is you integrate the principles of nature. Here's a great example that I used this weekend at Zoom. Human beings have inside of them something called empathy. Empathy is what determines morality. Laws and groups and statements do not burgeon or determine empathy, love for one another. Okay, that comes out of the humanness that you are, not from a law. If you require a religion or a law to behave in a humane manner, you're a monster. You're a monster. If you need a Bible to tell you to love your neighbor, you're a monster. If you need the Bible to tell you to love yourselves and love one another and be kind to one another, you're a monster. Because those things don't come out of laws or statements. They come out of your heart, identifying with another person. So the principle is there, friend. The principle is there, meaning the energy. is there. They've just twisted it so that you would put your energy towards negative spaces rather than humane spaces. That's why they degraded the human being, so that people would actually believe themselves that they are evil, and then they would then act evil because that's what they believe about themselves. That's an egregore. Okay. And so there is a principle in the universe called human nature, and it is filled with empathy. And it's simply a matter of identifying with your fellow man, with nature, to bring this out, which will make you behave appropriately because you will have respect and empathy and compassion for others. This is what develops appropriate behavior. Appropriate behavior doesn't come out of a beat down. The beatings will continue until the behavior improves. That's not how appropriate behavior is burgeoned in someone. If you want someone to behave with integrity, right, that comes out of empathy. And the only way I develop empathy is if I identify with others and I identify with who I am, meaning nature. This is how it's twisted. So a law in nature, which is empathy, is twisted into a law of the Bible, a law of a religion. So now it no longer is spawning you from the space of authenticity. It's spawning your behavior from the place of law, from the place of words. And you're a nature creature. You're not a literary creature. You're not, you respond to energy, frequency, and vibration, not laws. So if you want to inspire someone to behave appropriately, you inspire their humanness. They're identifying with others and identifying with themselves to tease this out. And this is how they took natural law and twisted it into words and verbal law to deceive the entire population with false gods, with false beliefs. The person that believes, if I ask Jesus into my heart, I will become a kinder person. No, you won't. No, you won't. You will become a kinder person when you realize others are you and you are them. When you realize identity, when you realize a self-love for yourself. That's when you'll start being nice to others, is when you love yourself. It's already in you. It's not something that is put into you from the outside in words. It's something that you realize instinctually inside that's already in you, called your humanness. And this is how the church has taken this natural love, this natural empathy, this natural connection that you have with the nature and everyone else, and put you against it, separated you by calling you a sinner, by calling you fallen, by saying, no, you're not prone to act kindly. You're prone to act like an a-hole. And you have to have us, this religion, put into you in order to be human. That's demonology. That's Satanism. That's turning a person against themselves, their natural inclination of what and who they are, and creating ideas about themselves, egregores about themselves inside them that they believe and then carry out. The ultimate deception, personal identity. Deceive you into believing that you are something that you're not, namely a sinner, namely a fallen creature, namely a dirty carbon generator. Why do you think that is at the core of all of these deceptions? Because it puts fear into you. And when you act from a place of fear, you act from a place of reactivity. The reactive person is always behind the ball and will be crushed by the ball. And guess who is holding the ball in that situation? The controllers. And it is not until you are holding the ball, meaning aware, that you will free yourself. Because if you continue to live in the condition that you deny your humanness, that you think you're a sinner, that you think you're fallen, that you think you need a savior, right? You continue to stay in the slave mentality and subservient to the controllers, because you are not identifying with your true self, your true nature self, your true identity, which is a truth that surpasses words, as we've been studying in Zen. And when a person finally realizes that they realize a truth that is past words, the words will no longer control you and they will no longer put fear into you. Fear is put into you because you don't know, you're unaware, you are ignorant. And that's why you're afraid of hell. That's why you're afraid of being a sinner. That's why you're afraid of being a carbon generator, because the authorities have put that into you with their lies, with their deceptions. And it's the exact kind of thing I'm showing you right now in this book. This is what I'm showing you. The great deception. You must change your perspective. That's what you do now, friend. You must change your perspective. Here, you must change your awareness. Level up. Level up. Get out of the surface. Level up. Get in the high rise. Get in the helicopter. Get in the spiritual plane and see this dualistic dimension for what it is. It's a deception. It's a con. Transcend, my friend. Transcend the words. Transcend the egregores. Stand up for yourself. Stop asking permission, seeking approval, and expecting reproof. Stop acting like a slave. That's the mentality of a slave. Asking permission, please God. Seeking approval, please God, accept me. Expecting reproof, yes, God, I deserve it. That's the mentality of a slave. And this is where the Bible puts you. This is where Islam puts you. The mentality of a slave. And it's all demonology, my friend. This is why it is so ruthless. This is why it is so ruthless. Here it is. Let him take off his clothes and bathe himself from head to foot in consecrated and exorcised water. Are you reading this, my friend? This is a book on demonology. And bathe himself head to foot in consecrated, exorcised water, saying devoutly and humbly the prayer, O Lord Adonai. So the demonologist, just to be very clear here, the demonologist is calling out to Adonai. Who is the Old Testament worshiper calling out to? Could it possibly be the same being? Well, according to this book and the Bible, it is. It is. El is Adonai. El is Saturn and Satan. There you go. We already know that. The sixth and last pentacle of the moon, those are pentagrams. This is wonderfully good and serveth excellently to excite and cause heavy rains, if it be engraved upon a plate of silver, and if it be placed under water, as long as it remaineth there, there will be rain. In my opinion, this links shamanistic practice of invoking rain into an operable demonology, invoking effective spiritual resonances for one's own gain and personal vitriol, which is what religion is. This is an abuse of nature in the same way of global climate manipulation or for corporate gain. Do you see? This is how they do it. They turn this natural law, these natural energies that are present in nature, and they use them against the human enterprise. They twist them into negative. They twist them into deception. So let's hand all of these slaves and cattle that we're eating, let's hand them their gods. So let's give them El. Let's give them Adonai. Let's give them Yahweh, our principal demonic forces. And let's have all of them worship those beings, give their life to those beings, and engage in demonic rituals, thinking that they're engaging in holy ceremonies to their beautiful God. Do you see the deception? You are being deceived like a tool, like you are being used like a rented mule. The Western religionists are being used by the authorities like rented mules, doing as they're told, asking permission, seeking approval. Showing it to you. This is the end of the Holy Pentacles, in all which I have, to the best of my power, restored the Hebrew letters and mystical characters correctly. I have further given nearly every versicle in pointed Hebrew instead of in the Latin, so that the occult student may not be inconvenienced by having to search out the same in the Hebrew Bible. That tells you what? Tells you all the occult students are reading the Hebrew Bible to understand demonology and demonic ceremony. Right there. I'm showing it to you, black and white. This links the Key of Solomon to the Hebrew Bible in regards to divination methods and conjuring the correct spirits. You guys know about the Knights of Malta? How many of you guys know about the Knights of Malta? Well, did you know that that Knight of Malta cross is a Canaanite symbol? Did you guys know that? And did you know it was a Canaanite symbol for the sun? Isn't that interesting? that all the Freemasons are using that demonic symbol as the sign of their God, the God of Lucifer, the God of light, the God of the sun. I will offer unto thee the sacrifice of thanksgiving and will call upon the name of Yahweh. One of the most iconic, popular, recognizable symbols in the world is the Maltese cross. The Knights of Malta predate the Jesuits. That's the military arm of the Khazarian mafia. The Maltese, or the Knights of Malta, are just another military arm. Began in 1048 AD and are their own sovereign entity with their own passports and stamps. Does that sound like ruling authorities to you? They are located in Rome. Interesting to see, it is the symbol of the Old Testament God Yahweh, according to this demonic textbook. Just so you know, here's more demonism. Can't you tell by just looking at it that it's demonism? Doesn't just look like something a demon would do? It's what they draw on the ground to protect themselves from the demons so they don't get eaten when they conjure them. There you go. The Gnostic cross is a sign of demonism, demonology. Did you guys know that? The Gnostic cross comes straight out of demonism. It's the sixth pentacle of Jupiter. The versicle is from Psalm. Interesting. The versicle for this demonology is from Psalm 22, it looks like, 16, 17. They pierced my hands and my feet. I may tell all my bones. Doesn't that sound amazingly like crucifixion? Also a demonic enterprise, in case you guys didn't know. And they also crucify children, in case you didn't know that. They do. The seventh and last pentacle of Saturn. Here's another demonic insignia. Within the pentacle are the names of the 9 orders of angels, those of 6 of them in ordinary Hebrew characters, and the remainder in the letters which are known as the passing of the river. These are the 9 orders: the holy living creatures, the wheels, the thrones, the brilliant ones, the fiery ones. The seraphim, aren't those the ones that are right on top of the Ark of the Covenant? Isn't it interesting they made you think those were angels? Those are actually demons on the top of the Ark of the Covenant. Kings, gods, sons of the Elohim. This sounds like the KM. The cherubim, the versicle is from Psalms. Let's see, that's 28, 7. Then the earth shook and trembled. The foundations of the hills also moved and were shaken because he was wroth. These are demonic hordes, my friend. Remember, Saturn is Satan in ancient times. Kronos is from Roman times, a god who ate his sons, so they would not take his throne. I covered that in KM2. This links Saturn to the Elohim, plural, the creatures of humanity, according to biblical and Kabbalistic teachings. And the seraphim, the beings on top of the Ark of the Covenant, are all demonic angels. This means, according to this book used by Crowley to actually raise demons, and we know that he did, the creation of man is a demonic institution, according to Crowley. This is the great deception to get you to believe that. And the Ark of the Covenant held a demonic covenant with the tribes of Israel, sealed by the seraphim, demonic angels. There it is right in front of you. I think the evil in the universe works in the same way a malignant tumor works in the body. Here, I wrote it out for you. There seems to be correlations in how parasites take over biosystems. Cancer as well as parasites, and sometimes cancer is the parasites, infecting the earth, create their own source of life energy from other beings. Do you guys see a natural pattern occurring here? Do you see how cancer spreads is the same way this natural evil energy spreads through a planetary system and then eventually through a galaxy? Don't you think that it's beyond coincidence that these two things, cancer and evil, spread in the identical way? Evil metastasizes and links entire planetary systems within a galaxy into a network of life-gathering power on alternate and accompanying planes, so to omit source in the same way a cancer in a body feeds off the organs and blood of the humans, so to omit source energy. Do you see it? Do you see it? It's the identical pattern. What does pattern render? What does pattern render? Pattern renders truth. It's the same pattern, folks. Control systems are affixed on planets, turning their entire existence into an extraction apparatus. Great dark energies wipe the planet with catastrophes and then seed the wiped planet with consciousness food that they program, they control, and they extract. It is systematic, intentional, planetary-wide consciousness farming. Bam. That's a big secret they don't want you to know. Controlled and built biodroids. Those are the Satanists that have had all of their humanness removed. As you guys saw in God Eaters Part 3C, B, and A, I showed that the Satanists remove the humanness in a person by sodomizing and raping them and programming them while they are doing that. You fractional, you put fractions into the mind fragments into pieces, and those memories are stored in a specific personality. And that personality doesn't have any humanness in it because it was born from rape and sodomy and abuse. So that's the person that the Satanist births out of their acolyte, out of their apprentice. This is the process of removing the empathy and humanness of a person, showing them abusive children, and then having them engage in abusing children. You remove all their empathy, all their compassion, because you're removing their mind. You're destroying it. That's demonic technique. That's Satanism. Period. Controlled and built biodroids, which is what they are then dosed into the cattle, meaning the Satanist that's no longer human, like viruses to infect and control the consciousness climate or planes of reality within the food source itself on the planet. Do you see the deception is multi-layered? The plan or the pattern is multi-layered. So I, as a Satanist, I make a apprentice into a Satanist. They then make other Satanists who then make other Satanists. This is natural process. This is growth the natural way. And it has been tainted. You see how it's been twisted? It's been twisted into an evil enterprise. Religion is the same way with spirituality. It has twisted spirituality into an evil enterprise with religion by making you believe that these individuals are angels when they're demons, by making you think you're something that you are not, by making you think that the world is fallen, not a wonder. That's demonism. That's Satanism. I'm telling you right here, I'm showing it to you. Linking planetary systems into fields of harvest. Evil concentrates multiple planetary systems across the galaxy, just like a cancer that metastasizes into the organs of the body. Same pattern, guys. This provides an eternal energy source as an alternate to true source, the void, just as cancer accesses the body to live off of a being bypassing the source that enlivens it. These are identical patterns. Essentially, evil forces resonate into consciousness, forming cancer-like control systems within a galactic-size apparatus to sustain itself. Remember, total corruption corrupts totally, like a hive of parasites colonizing and consolidating food from local areas. So the reason why I showed you guys that stuff, and we'll be done there, and then we'll move on to Zen. The reason why I show all that stuff to you guys is all part of this awakening process. It is just as important for you to know how to awaken spiritually, meaning with ideas of Zen and oneness and wonder, right? It is just as important for you to wake up to that unknown as it is for you to wake up to the unknown that religion has completely deceived you. This week solidified it for me, man. After I read enough of that Book of Solomon, that solidified it. That solidified it. That's solidified. All of the precepts, all of the notions, all the conjurations are just twisted into Bible verses, prayers, and holy gods. But it's all evil, and it's been twisted into this holy thing. And that's the Catholic Church. They are the principal costume to make you think this God Adonai and Yahweh and Jesus are your friends. They're not. Not your friends. Not your friends. It's deception, because you're not a sinner. You don't need Jesus. You don't need a savior. You don't need those kind of authorities. The authority is inside of you. It's simply a matter of tapping into it through your humanness, which brings out your compassion and empathy, because it's the compassionate, empathetic person that jumps in front of the bus to save the child. And you and I both know, without any argument, that's the ultimate human act. You are most human, you are most beautiful, you are most spiritually awake when you are willing to give your life for another human being. And you and I know that. You see, and it's these methodologies in this book that twist you away from that and give you the idea, no, I'm not good enough. I don't have that kind of respect and love for another in me. I'm a sinner. I need to pray for God for that, you see. And by tricking people into thinking that they're sinners and thinking that the world is fallen, guess what they evoke? They evoke a sinful world. They evoke sinners. They evoke sinful behavior. They evoke the sinner's existence, themselves, the ultimate egregore, the ultimate red herring, where the person deceived has no idea ever and they die that way. New comments? I'm going to the bottom right now. I'm going to the bottom right now. Here. What you guys need to know. Here. Where? Okay, the comments are coming in too fast. I can't keep up. Would you say that this construct is more complicated than simply duality? Yes. Are we wise to disengage or use our power energy to fight the evil? No, it's awareness and development of yourself is, quote unquote, how you fight the evil. Development of yourself and awareness. You have to take on an entirely different type of spirituality that is not the spirituality that was taught to you by the demons. You have to take on a spirituality that comes out from you. You are a human being. You are pure. You are beautiful. And you have to loose from this idea that you're a fallen creature. You have to loose from this idea that you're sinful, because if you think that about yourself, you'll behave like that. So you have to start thinking about yourself as this perfect, beautiful creature. And it's simply getting in touch with your humanness and identity with others and identity with nature that's going to bring out your moral behavior. Moral behavior doesn't come out of religion. It comes out of empathy. I explained that earlier. If you require a religion to be a moral or empathetic person, you're a monster. Meaning if you require a religion to be that way, to command you to love others, you're a monster. The love for others comes out from within you. It comes out. It teases out. Do you follow? It's not a law to follow. It's not a God to obey. It's not a God or Savior to follow. You've missed the point if you're doing that. It's awareness. It's consciousness expansion. It's identity. This is what brings about a moral world, a moral society, a kind, receiving, giving, loving society. That's where it doesn't come out of law. You don't get a society that's loving and compassionate from laws, because that's the notion. The beatings will continue until morale improves. This is not how you evoke humanness. Humanness is evoked through self-identity, realizing who you are, realizing you're not the sinner they told you you were. The world is not the fallen place they convinced you of. That's awareness. That's wisdom. That's illumination. Yes, it's realization. Yes. 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 You're welcome. You're welcome. Yes, just not God in the sense of the way the religionists tell you. Bigger than that. Yeah. I love you guys. I love my chat so much. I love. Exactly. Bam. You're exactly right, Max. Do you guys see how easy it gets when you see this perspective? Have you seen that? Once you understand what Hebrew really is, once you understand what they're doing in the Bible, once you understand what these great gurus were claiming, because all the words of those great gurus, guess where those words came from? They came from the translators of the KM, my friend. The book is a translated manuscript. Who translated it? Demonologists, Satanists. That's who did it. That's who did it. Jesus taught you that the answer to know God was through Jesus. That's what he says. If you want to know God, you know God through me. Right? There's no mediator to know God. Right there, you know it's a lie that he told you that. There are verses here he says that. You can only know the Father but through Jesus, because you have to be forgiven of your sins according to the Bible. And Jesus taught that you must be forgiven to enter the kingdom of heaven. It is what you believe that matters. And you guys know belief is the opposite of faith. This is why the answers are within. But Jesus taught, no. I am the way. I am the truth. I am the life. No one gets to the Father but through me. He's pointing at himself. A true guru would never do that. A true guru never points at himself as the answer, ever. He always points to you. You're the answer. The answer is in you, friend. A true guru does not tell you the answers are outside yourself. And that is exactly what Jesus taught. It's once you see the deception that will clarify for you. But until then, you will remain enamored and you will not allow yourself to question the words of Jesus, which is why the Pope deemed Jesus God, so you could never question his words. There's a methodology at work here, friend. You just don't know it because you're being deceived. But there is a methodology at work here. There is mind control at work here. Convincing you that you're fallen and the world is a sinful enterprise is mind control. That's mind control. They're controlling what your mind perceives as truth because you filter it through their words. That's pure deception. That's demonology. Yeah. Yes. Max, I love you. Yes. The narcissist tells you, I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. No one knows God without me. That's a narcissist, friend. This is the very, very, very hard truth of the situation that is going to basically destroy Western religion, and it's coming. It won't be long before more of you are going to know this. It won't be long. And the evidence is undeniable. It's so clear. It's crystal clear. It is crystal clear. Yes. And there you go. There's another sign that it's deception. Yeah, it is. You are so right, Don. Because we believe the egregore. We believe the lie. We believe what the authorities tell us. And so we become our own worst enemies because we believe the priest when he says or she says, you're a sinner, pal. You are as far from God as the East is from the West until you believe correctly. And the very fact that the whole religion of Christianity is based on belief will tell you right on the front end, there ain't no faith in this religion. No faith. None. It is belief. And we all know that belief gets you nowhere as far as spirituality is concerned, because there's nothing to believe. It's experience, it's satori. It's the great unknown. You see, and so when you start sticking belief words, specifically Hebrew words, on top of that, you're putting demonology, demons into that situation. And the only thing you're going to get out of that is deception. And the entire West is deceived. Yeah, there's no middleman. The unspeakable, the great unspeakable. We talk about it in Zen all the time. Yeah, there we go. The enemy Vatican Church of Satan, synagogue, taught you were a wretched, lowly sinner. Yeshua taught how to achieve true Christic consciousness, and the enemy changed it for profit control. Bam. Thank you, Johnny Come Lately. Yes, it is. It's also the same as Mithra. That's what's so funny is the Christians are unaware that the Jesus death and resurrection, the gone for 3 days and coming back, saving humanity, having disciples, these are all ancient myths. They already were all well established, and they just made another one for the life of Jesus. Jesus is to be a metaphor. Jesus is not to be a God to worship. That's a metaphor to realize. Do you understand that? All of these myths that contain these gods, these creatures in Greek mythology, in Christos mythology, in ancient Canaanite mythology, those gods are myths for the emotional content of you yourself. It was turned into demonology, but those actually are the consciousnesses within you, the gods, quote unquote, the emotions, the feelings, the anger, the resentment, the love, the passion. Those are gods that motivate and drive you, are they not? Are you not driven by your passions? Are you not driven by love? Are you not driven by hate and anger? You're driven by these things. That's why they were called gods in the old times, because there was no self-identity. Self-identity didn't come around until the Romantic period. So people didn't even see themselves as a specific identity. They saw themselves as a group member. I'm a Roman. I'm a Jew. I'm a Christian. You know, it's not the I am a social label. This is the depth, the lack of awareness of the disciples, of the people in the Bible. There's no self-identity there. And the Christians, the West, are totally ignorant of this. They don't know this. They don't know that identity didn't come along until long after the Bible was even written, supposed. Stuff to know. I bet you do. I bet you hear this kind of stuff all the time. Thank you, Truth Stream. Thank you so much, guys. I love you guys, man. You guys are one of the first people that ever put me in front of people. So I really thank you for that. And I'm glad to see that you're here. Yeah, I love you, Max. I care so much about you guys. You're welcome. I'm glad you found me, Julie. So glad you found me. Yes, all religion was intentionally created by the enemy. Yes, Vatican Church of Satan's synagogue is divide and conquer agendas, including Christianity. Exactly. Exactly. Jordan Maxwell talked about it all the time. You guys want to do some Zen? Yeah, never a straight answer. That's a good answer. All right, here we are. I am one here. Hi, Ben. It's good to see you, buddy. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you. Okay. Ben asks, Chuck, do you practice Christ consciousness at Chuck and others? Write in comments on how you achieve it, please. Yeah, the only problem with calling it Christ consciousness that I have is that it has such a misnomer in relating Christ as Christ Jesus. It's hard for the Westerner to get that out of their mind, equating, in other words, Jesus to Christ. And this is the hard part for the religionists, for the real hardcore Christian. They need to understand that Christ consciousness is not Jesus. How about that? That Christ is not Jesus. How about that? That Christ consciousness is actually a non-figure. It's an energy. How about that? It's not a form. It's a realization. It's Satori. Whereas Jesus is a form, a being, an individual, right? And if you worship that, if you revere that, that's called idolatry. Okay, there's no excuse. It's called any form. I don't care if it's the one you think is right or wrong, whatever. Any form of idol worship, form worship, is idolatry. That is anti-Zen. That's called attachment. If I attach to a form, if I attach to a God, I am attached. I'm therefore no longer objective. I'm therefore no longer humane because my reason has been given over to the society, to the belief system. But you're a nature creature, not a societal creature, do you see? And so it's these little small changes in perspective that changes everything. So you'll never want to call Jesus Christ consciousness because you will realize what a deception Jesus is, that Allah is, that Yahweh is, that El is. These are deceptions. They are forms for what cannot be put into form. And it's the demons, the demonologists, the Satanists that put it into material form. That's why Gnosticism is based on that concept. They put it into material form. They put spirit into material form. Whereas material is just the effect of spirit. It is not a sin. It's the effect of spirit and matter. You must have a larger consciousness, a wider awareness to integrate these concepts that I'm telling you. Because if you're locked in Christianity, if you're locked in atheism, if you're locked in materialism, heck, if you're locked in spirituality, the concept I'm offering you right now supersedes all of those. So if you're locked in any one of them, you'll think I'm nuts. Because your perspective has not gotten large enough to integrate all the concepts and understand where we have been deceived and where truth is. And guess what's required to discern that? Humanness, empathy, compassion, awareness, identity. All the things that we talk about in Zen all the time. Okay, let's go to media assets. Let's talk about some Zen. You are watching Zen Week 20, The Course of Nature, Saturday, March 7th, 2026. Welcome, everybody. How's that for an introduction? How's that for an introduction? Okay. To give you a heads up on what's coming on chapter 4, because we are going to finish half of it tonight. I'm going to get through these slides. What we're going to do is we're looking at chapter 4 differently than the way that Alan wrote it, in the sense of the point of chapter 4 that Alan was attempting to do was to show you the history of Zen, to show you the dates of when things happened, to show you where and location they happened on the planet, and to show you who did them. And from this, you then form an understanding of where Zen came from. Now, in the course of teaching that, the gurus that he talks about, the different places, locations, and what they taught and so forth, one of the ways that he tells you about them is through koans. So instead of going through a bunch of dates, which I know you guys probably aren't interested, and a bunch of names that I certainly can't pronounce, and a bunch of times that you'll likely forget, and locations that you've never been, I'm going to focus in on the koans because you can relate to the koans. The koans are ways of teaching a human being a principle that can't be put into words, like love, like virtuosity. You can't finally define those things. And so what Zen attempts to do is offer you a puzzle, a koan. And what the koan does is it's an outlandish story that isn't true, but it points to these deeper principles that undergird appropriate behavior, that undergird the moral individual, because we now know from the study we just did just now that verses do not undergird the moral behavior. Empathy undergirds the moral behavior, right? The compassion, the identity, not laws, not memorizing passages, not worshiping Jesus. These things don't make you moral. Those are duties. And as we know with spirituality, there is no try. Right? It's another way that you know that Christianity, that religion is a deception, because you're believing, and that belief and doing has nothing to do with spirituality. Experiencing and faith have everything to do with spirituality. And the Bible couldn't care less what your experience is. You are to obey. You are to follow these rules, worship these gods, follow these edicts, period. Doesn't matter what happens to you. Doesn't matter. What matters is that you believe correctly and follow orders. You see? No spirituality there. So what we're going to do is focus on the puzzles, the koans, which teach the deeper moral principles, right, that you only realize through self-identity. Ready? Okay, here we go. So in chapter 4, Watts explores the historical and philosophical emergence of Zen Buddhism in China, emphasizing its unique flavor of directness, immediacy, and naturalness, which distinguish it from other Buddhist schools. He traces influences from Indian Mahayana texts, Tantric traditions, and Chinese Taoism and Confucianism, highlighting precursors like Seng Chao and Dao Xing, who advocated sudden awakening without gradual purification. And we're going to go through those that koan today. We have 6 koans, and the last 2 are my favorite. Though the history and individuals that influence Zen are an important part of a holistic understanding of Zen, our focus will be the core principles captured in the koans of Zen historical figures, which in fact birthed what came to be known as Zen. So this just shows you the types of Buddhism that were prevailing at that time, okay? And they kind of intermingled with each other and formed sort of their own vibe and feel. And so Alan lays that out for you. Now here are some highlights and the page numbers. Starting at the top there, page 78, there is, too, a clear connection between the idea of immediate awakening and the teaching of the Vajra Chidika, or Diamond Cutter Sutra, on the fact that to attain awakening is not to attain anything. You see? To attain awakening is not to attain anything. That should make perfectly good sense to you guys. If it doesn't, ask me in Zoom on Friday. In other words, if nirvana is actually here and now, so that to seek it is to lose it, a realization through progressive stages is hardly appropriate. One would have to see into it in the present moment directly. Directly. Do you see? There is no try. You see it instantly. There is obviously a gradual awakening, but the final moment of realizing that you are that and that is you is something that just happens to you. and you simply present yourself available to be in that space. And then if it's to happen, it will happen. But you can't plan it. You can't set your pace for it. You just realize it. And this is what we attempt to do here as we look at Zen, to have that moment. In Zen, there is always, under page 77, there's always the feeling that awakening is something quite natural, something startlingly obvious, which may occur at any moment. If it involves a difficulty, it is just that it is too much, too simple. Zen is also direct in its way of teaching, for it points directly and openly to the truth and does not trifle with symbolism. What is form? Symbolism, right? Symbolism is definitely helpful to a certain extent, but eventually you have to escape the forms. You have to escape the final ideas. You see, any idea that you have in your head is smaller than the great idea, you see. And so we simply have moments, sparkles, like you're watching a great movie and there's this profound moment in the movie and you get goosebumps, tear in your eye, and all this incredible sensation because you're so into this movie that you're watching. You see, you didn't plan that. You can't do that. It happens to you. The emotional feelings that you feel, the connection you have to the players that are on the screen, the music that's playing and your resonation with it. You see, the movie is enticing, evoking out of you this connection. And it is that connection that brings out your humanness. That's why you care for these people that are just acting on a screen. You have all these emotions welling inside of you, even though you darn well know it's not a true story. Let's say it was a fiction. You know it's not true, but you're still taken by it with this intangible. This is what religion does to people. It puts them in that position where they think there's this intangible thing happening, but it is only in their mind. It's only in their mind, you see. And when you experience it in the world, when you give yourself to the world, you can see how there's no words that could fill that spot. You only realize it in your connection with another, in the smile or love from another or to another. Religion can't crown that. A belief can't crown that. Only spirituality can stand in that space with you. And that's beyond form, beyond words, but beyond determination. It's a realization. You guys get it. Zen tradition does not indeed maintain that immediate awakening is not communicated by the sutras. Those are Buddhist verses, but has been passed down directly from master to pupil. This does not necessarily imply anything so esoteric as an experience conveyed by telepathy, but something much less sensational. Thus, when Hindu pundits insist that wisdom is not to be gained from the scriptures, but only from a teacher or guru, it means that the actual texts, such as the Yoga Sutra, contain only headings of the doctrine, and that its full explanation requires someone who has learned the oral tradition. You see, it only fits into an oral tradition, meaning you cannot write it down. It is something that is expressed to one another through the feelings and emotions and sensations that we feel as we interact. It's past words. That's why as I communicate with you guys on these Saturday nights, you'll have epiphanies. You don't know what I'm going to say. Heck, I don't even know what I'm going to say. But eventually something comes out in this space of awareness that we are working to generate, right? That we are in the space of. It spontaneously brings about a connection where the person will suddenly be like, oh my God, I've never thought about like that. I've never thought about that like that before. That's the role of a guru. The role of a guru is just to simply usher you, walk with you, host you into a room that you've never seen before, and then walks away. A good guru walks away. She won't take ownership. They will leave and let you develop on your own. That's a true teacher. That's a true master. The one that doesn't have to be your teacher, that doesn't in fact want to be your teacher, the one that loves you so much that you yourself will grow. They just want to be an inspiration to you. They just want to love you and encourage you. But ultimately, you are the one that transcends. And you can't transcend through the path of the guru because the path of the guru only leads to his or her happiness. It doesn't lead to yours. You must follow your own path. It's called the marga. The marga leads to the den, to the heart of the individual. And it is only in the den, in the heart, that appropriate behavior, moral behavior, affection, love, these kind of things can come out. Follow? Since the tradition is merely, to this, it should hardly be necessary to add that since the tradition is primarily an experience, words can communicate it no more and no less than any other experience. Next page, or next highlight. There's 2 pages of these. Page 81, we have already noted that the peculiar trust in human nature, which both of these philosophies professed, Mahayana and Hinayana. However, not exterminating the passions does not mean letting them flourish untamed. This is key. It means letting go of them rather than fighting them. That's why that person who asked earlier, how do we fight? The idea isn't to fight. The idea is to integrate, get a bigger picture and integrate why there's evil, why this evil is happening. So you're not tied into it. See it for what it is, and therefore it causes you no fear, because it's what we don't know that causes us fear. It means letting go of them rather than fighting them, neither repressing passion nor indulging it. You see, for the Taoist is never violent, since he achieves his ends by non-interference, Wu Wei, which is a kind of psychological judo. And friends, what do we talk about here on Saturdays, man? Psychological judo. That's what we are doing. And this entire time tonight, as well as previous Saturdays that we've spent, we are engaging in psychological judo, because you cannot break free from a religion that is composed of words with anything else or with anything less. Psychological judo. That's why I told you, if you want to leave Christianity, understand its psychology. Just look at how it basically works in its function, in its psychology, and it will show you there's no way the God of the universe developed this for human beings, because it is anti-human. It's anti-human. It calls you a sinner. It says you're fallen, on and on it goes. It says you need to be saved. These are anti-human statements. Fair enough? You see? Page 84, bottom left, they suggest that the Bodhidharma's story was a pious invention of later times, when the Zen school needed historical authority for its claim to be direct transmission of experience from the Buddha himself outside the sutras. You see, that was the heresy. He experienced it outside the sutras. For Bodhidharma is represented as the 28th of a somewhat fanciful list of Indian patriarchs, standing in the direct line of apostolic succession from Gautama, the original Buddha. Huineng's position was that a man with an empty consciousness was no better than a block of wood or a lump of stone. I'm sure you guys understand that. Our own nature in green is fundamentally clear and pure, as we've talked about tonight. And then to where it's underlined there below, the attempt, here it is, the attempt to work on one's own mind is a vicious cycle. And this is because you cannot be objective of your own mind, the same way that you can't bite your own teeth or lift yourself up the ground with your own bootstraps. You must engage in psychological judo. That's what that means. You can't do it. You can't do it by trying to pull yourself up. You must do it by looking inward. It's not a trying thing. And if I'm trying to lift myself up my bootstraps, I'm trying. Zen awareness of the spiritual plane is not a trying ordeal. It's realizing, placing myself in the position and then realizing it. Okay. To try to purify is to be contaminated with purity. Obviously, this is the Taoist philosophy of naturalness, according to which a person is not genuinely free, detached, or pure when his state is the result of an artificial discipline. He is just imitating purity, just faking clear awareness. Hence, the unpleasant self-righteousness of those who are desperately and methodologically religious. It's the goody-goodies. Because again, if you can only be moral because the religion tells you, you're a monster. You're a goody-goody. Because there is no try when it comes to compassion. You can't stop yourself. There is no try when it comes to relating to someone else. You see it or you don't. Because if you're having to be told to relate, you're having to be instructed, my friend, these are things that are outside of instruction. Oral instruction, reading, and experience absolutely will help. Absolutely. But the final True understanding to where you don't even have to think about it anymore obviously requires no thought. Next slide. The rise and development of Zen. Chapter 4 reveals a series of Zen anecdotes. Here we go, the koan, and illustrates how Zen masters used a provocative paradoxical dialogue to evoke instantaneous insight, satori, through bypassing intellectual analysis and memorization. And see, here we see the koan, a paradoxical anecdote or riddle used in Zen Buddhism to demonstrate the inadequacy of logical reasoning and to provoke enlightenment. These koans communicate Zen's core ideas, the futility of seeking enlightenment as something external or attainable through effort, the non-dual nature of the real, and the importance of realizing one's inherent Buddha nature in the midst of ordinary life. By elucidating each, we see Watts conveying Zen as a revolutionary approach that trusts, here it is, that trusts human nature. That's going to be tough for the Christian, tough for the Islamist, tough for the Jew, because they don't trust human nature. The human is fallen, can't be trusted. Rejects contrived discipline. Ouch. There goes all your commands. Reject that. Disobedience is the key. Points directly to the mind's original clarity. That's the direct pointing inherent to Zen. So chapter 4, koan number 1, Vilamakirti, thunderous silent, or Vilamakirti's thunderous silence. Now this koan elucidates the limits of language and conceptual thought in grasping ultimate truth. Silence here is not absence, but a direct, thunderous demonstration of non-duality, where subject and object, question and answer, here and there, dissolve. Watts uses this to communicate Zen's affinity with the sutra's teaching that awakening is compatible with everyday life and does not require eradicating human passions. And guys, you guys know how much time we spent on that in the initial videos. You guys know, by not eradicating the sensations. And this is real Buddhist heresy. And this is really the twist that Alan and especially myself put on Zen. In that the bodhisattva is the ultimate example. In other words, the one who integrates the wheel of samsara, does not abandon the wheel in fright, but integrates, walks into the space and becomes and transcends the space. That, my friend, that's the true sense of this. It underscores this point that Zen inherits from Mahayana the idea of entering nirvana without suppressing defilements, aligning with Taoist non-interference, Wu Wei, and shows how early Chinese Buddhists like Seng Chao drew from such stories to blend Buddhism with native philosophies, emphasizing lay practice over monastic rigor. Now here it is. Here's the koan. The Vilamakirti Sutra is a foundational Mahayana Buddhist text written around the 1st century AD that centers on a wise layperson named Vilamakirti. It teaches that enlightenment is accessible to all. Here we are, emphasizing that true wisdom lies in non-dualism, emptiness, and engaging the world rather than retreating from it. Now, at the bottom of page 80, it starts. Seng Chao had been converted to Buddhism as a result of reading the Vilamakirti Sutra, a text which has exercised considerable influence upon Zen. Although Seng Chao became a monk, this sutra is the story of a layman, Vilamakirti, who excelled all the Buddha's disciples in the depth of his understanding, meaning this guy figured it out. He had surpassed all the other disciples and bodhisattvas by answering a question as to the nature of the non-dual reality with a thunderous silence, an example frequently followed by Zen masters. The main importance of this sutra for China and for Zen was the point that perfect awakening was consistent with the affairs of everyday life, and that, indeed, here it is, the highest attainment was to enter into awakening without exterminating the defilements. Klesha. Klesa is also klesha, the 5 defilements that that bind the individual. This is what binds you according to Buddhism. Ignorance, egotism, attachment, aversion, and fear. What does Western religion do to you? Keeps you ignorant, keeps you concerned about the self, saving yourself and going to heaven. keeps you attached, codependent relationship to Jesus, creates aversion to others that don't think like you and believe like you and assume like you, and that this ultimately results in fear. And there you can see that all of Western religion is basically made up of klesha. Klesha. Western religion is klesha, that which impedes and impinges the mind. So what is the koan? Vilamakirti addresses the bodhisattvas, asking them to explain how bodhisattvas enter the Dharma door of non-duality. So Vilamakirti, who's the guru, is addressing the students, and he asks them, how do we enter the Dharma door of non-duality? And one bodhisattva states, noble sir, this is his answer. Production and destruction are two, but what is not produced and does not occur cannot be destroyed. Thus, the attainment of the tolerance of the birthlessness of things is the entrance to non-duality. Another declares, the absence of presumption is the entrance to non-duality. Another, the path leading to the complete conquest of all conceit is the entrance to non-duality. Do you see how they're still students? Do you see? One says distraction and attention are two. When there is no distraction, there will be no attention. So mentation and no mentality, mental intensity. Thus, the absence of mental intensity is the entrance to non-duality. You think any of these are it? Another, the inaction and non-involvement of all things, the significant and meaningless, the unique and characterlessness, and to penetrate the equality of these two is to enter non-duality. See, it's all doing. So they're telling you they're all doing and comparing. You see? Sinfulness and sinlessness are two, by means of the diamond-like wisdom that pierces to the quick, not to be bound or liberated, is the entrance into non-duality. Watch what happens. Finally, Satyana declares, it is dualistic to speak of true and false when one sees fully. One does not ever see any truth. How could one see falsehood? Why? One does not see with the physical eye. One sees with the eye of wisdom. And with the wisdom eye, one sees only insofar as there is neither sight nor non-sight. There, where there is neither sight nor non-sight, is the entrance into non-duality. So after they all had spoken, after they all gave explanations, they address Manjushri. Manjushri, what is the bodhisattva's entrance into non-duality? And Manjushri replies, good sirs, you have all spoken well. Nevertheless, all your explanations are themselves dualistic. And I'm sure you guys saw that. I'm sure some of you guys that are beginning to get this stuff saw, wait a minute, all these guys are just talking about dualism. To know one teaching, to express nothing, to say nothing, to explain nothing, to announce nothing, to indicate nothing, and to designate nothing. That is the entrance to non-duality. Do you see the wisdom? Manjushri then turns and asks Vilamakirti to elucidate the teaching. Vimalakirti simply kept his silence and said nothing at all. Manjushri applauds. Excellent, excellent, noble sir. This is indeed the entrance to non-duality of the bodhisattvas. There is no use for symbols, sounds, and ideas. This is the person who gets it. You see? Do you have friends that often when you tell a joke to, they instantly get it, and then you have other friends that are like, okay, no, wait, I don't understand it. Can you explain it to me? Because you have certain friends that can see things really clearly and easily. Oftentimes, Jenny and I will sometimes watch Jeopardy at night because I love watching Jeopardy and trying to answer the questions. And so and I just lost my train of thought. Shit, sorry, just lost my train of thought. Yeah, got it. So what happens is there are people who they ask them questions, and the question requires them to connect like two totally separate words. And Jen and I will be sitting there, and I never get it right. But these people think of it instantaneously. Like they can think of the answer to that question combining two totally different worlds together into a single word or two different words. And they just get it. They just have a sense of things and can put things together quicker than the average Joe like you and me. So I'll see the question, be like, okay, I can't even think of this. And then they'll give the answer, and it's an obvious answer. And you'll be like, okay, why didn't I think of that? It's because some people get it, some people don't. And it's the same exact thing with Zen. Some people can understand the contradictions, integrate them, and be fine. Other people hear the contradictions and they're like, okay, no, wait a minute, man. No, wait a minute. You're saying in one sense that the void can't be described, but yet you're using words to describe the void to me. What's the matter with you? There you go. That's how it happens. The person has become too close to understanding, and they have to let go in order to begin to grasp a concept like the void, which means you're going to have to hear the words and see them and all that stuff, but you're going to have to leave those words and think of a concept, become a concept, experience a concept that is past the words. And this is what is happening constantly in Zen, because it is a philosophy that uses judo, psychological judo, for understanding. And that requires a sense of things, just like the person who practices judo finds their center, and out from that center, they perform the moves. You see, it's natural instinct. It's coming out from the center, and it's the same thing with Zen. It's psychological judo, and it is through awareness, the practice of experience, that you become fluent in the quote-unquote language, way, forces, voidness of Zen. And just like the martial arts practitioner will memorize the moves until the point whereby they're attacked by someone, they don't even have to think of the move to use. They use it and free themselves without even really thinking about it. Because again, the person who's thinking about it's behind the ball. If I'm practicing judo, I'm not thinking about it. I'm not thinking about it. I am simply engaged in the moment right now with the fighter that I'm fighting. Full engagement right here, present now. No mind. If you think about the move like, oh, here he comes with a right punch. Now I need to make sure and do my left. No, man. It's the moment you see his eyes and he just takes the slight movement, or the moment you just see him look another way, you've already clued into what he's going to do. You don't even have to think about it. You know where the move is coming from instinctually. This is what the perfection of Zen is. So that as you experience the world and it throws you punches and it comes at you in ways that you never expected or could have seen, you instinctively know the truth because you have practiced psychological judo, and you can discern the words you see, the events you see, what people are saying, and you can discern it without having to think about it. This is the true Zen, where you're in the moment right there and you don't even have to freaking bring yourself to focusing. You live in a focus. Makes sense? Makes sense. Let's go to comments. I'm going to the bottom. There's too many. There's hundreds. I'm going to the bottom. Questions, all caps for me. That's fine if you want to believe that, friend. That's fine, but that's a form. Okay, so just know you're engaging in idolatry. Just so you know. That's the psychological judo that you might not be familiar with yet. Is part of never being able to solve the mystery of nature related to accepting and living with contradictions? Of course, yes, absolutely, High Verbal. Thank you for that insight. Very good insight there, High Verbal. Thank you. Yeah. The Chinese farmer is an amazing story. That really helps a person be able to let go of the pain and suffering that they're in, as well as not get caught up in the glory, but just remain nonplussed, just right there in the moment. Here, Chuck, do you recommend any particular type of meditation that you like? There are two that I like, my friend. One is complete heresy, and one I think is kind of the idea. The one type of meditation I like to engage is what I like to do, or what I like to call a walking meditation. And that is simply being fully present in the now and engaged in, your life and where you're at, but at the same time at a higher plane of understanding, so that you're not taken by what is happening in your now. You see, so you're not numb. You're not, dismissing yourself and going out into the forest, and you just don't have any problems because you're out in the forest and you're just meditating out there, right? That is a type of meditation that to me is not the one that's engaged. And I feel like life needs both. It needs one where you're fully engaged and another one where you're fully engaged inwardly, but you are eliminating the external factors. I think we need both. Just like you need a waking consciousness and a sleeping consciousness, I think it's the same thing with meditation. You need sort of this waking consciousness and awareness and the psychological judo that you're practicing every day. And it's just your natural instinct and where you're at, and the experience of being nonplussed no matter your situation. Okay. Then the other type of meditation is more along the lines of the pure Zen type of meditation, where you're going into an alternate mindset. You're releasing from all the concerns of the world. You're removing yourself from the constancy, and you're moving into this oneness state whereby you are united with all things. And so there's nothing separated. There's nothing, there's no forms to identify. Everything is all the same event coming out, and you relax, realize, walk into mentally, spiritually, that space. So one, you're fully engaged in conscious mind, and then the other is the subconscious mind, the side that there is no form, right? That's what I like. That's what I like to do. And I love the walking meditation feeling when I'm in that state. Like I try and run either 3, 6, 9, or 12 miles a week. This week I got 9 in. But I try to run those segments. And during my run time is obviously my deep breathing time and being in nature and being either in the rain or the sunshine or the ice or snow, whatever the situation is, fully engaged in nature, feeling the air on my skin, the cold or the heat, sweating, breathing, seeing the beauty of the landscape, right? To me, this is waking meditation, walking meditation. And I am in a meditative state as I am running. Pound, 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 or, strike, 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 one after the other. It's a rhythm. And being in that rhythm clarifies. And so I really like both those states. So one is complete heresy, and the other one is more along the lines of Zen. So that's how I roll. Okay. I'm going to go back to where your question was. Let's see. When they misunderstand, yes, it's the same as the Christian who considers Jesus as God. They have attached to a form. The Buddhist that attaches to the Buddha form is the same as the Christian that attaches to the Jesus form. They've missed the point. The point isn't the form. The point isn't the object. The point is the realization. The point is what that guru was pointing towards. Jesus was pointing towards. Buddha was pointing towards. They are attempting to render to you something that is outside of themselves in the deeper sense. Now, if you look at the words of Jesus from the purely materialistic sense, that's where you'll become led astray. But if you see the words of Buddha, see the words of Jesus as pointing to a deeper concept past themselves, not through them, not through the Buddha, not through Jesus, but pointing towards a deeper, heavier understanding that has nothing to do with form, you got it at that point, because you've released from the form. You don't want to be tied into, gripping, holding to form. That's klesha. That's distraction. That takes you away from your humanness. It's the more of realization inside that brings you closer and closer to your true authentic self, your true humanness, which is where your compassion is. Way to be, Max. Love it. Yeah. Hey, I'm going to play some games. Okay, cool. Bruce Lee's philosophical musings were more important than his physical demonstrations and prowess, in my opinion. What he had to say about the marriage of thought and action was indeed. That's a great childhood hero to have, Kogi. Well done. Chuck, did I miss you talking about the vril? Are they the real parasite? You didn't. We talked about parasitic function, which is my philosophy or my thought of as to how the entire human race became captured. Vril is basically a parasite that the theory is that the KM have a parasite that has semi-consciousness, and it is injected into the eye, and it takes over the consciousness of that individual. And there are people who, if you look at a close-up of their eye, you can see a parasite in there. Now, whether or not that is tied into the conspiracy theory, I don't know. But what I want you to take from that, plasmoids, is this. The Vril Society and the idea of a parasite taking over your mind is the exact same idea of what a Satanist does to his victims. He takes over their mind with parasitic lies called egregores. And they function in the same exact way as a parasite that's in your eye. They take over your conscious awareness. And if I can put enough egregores, namely parasites, into your head, then you are now a bot. I've turned you into a parasite, because the only thing you know and the only thing you understand is the viruses, the lies that I have programmed the egregores into you as a Satanist, as a controller, as a government official, as a president, as whoever. They instill lies into you through egregores, and the masses think they're true. They believe them. And it's because they believe them that the karma is removed, and then they become the lie. That's parasite. That's parasitic function. You don't, in other words, you don't have to have an actual bug in your eye. You can actually program all these people without ever having to infect them with an actual physical parasite. You've just put a mental parasite into the masses. Welcome to the church. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Here. Hi, Sean Spring. Wow, Chuck, clarity on the deception with the religious part of this and how he see things is truly helping people pass this deception. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. But it goes into every industry. They have lied about everything. Yeah. And I think that's going to be one of the hardest things for folks, is realizing that everything you know is a lie. Not just some things. Everything you know is a lie. Honestly. It's the money system is a lie. The medical system is a lie. The religious systems are lies. The government systems are lies. They're all cover stories. What composes your life in the day-to-day? Money, spirituality, namely religion, your job, your vocation, the government and what it does to you, how it affects you, the laws it has written, what it allows you to say, what you can't say, you know? Do you see? And so what has to be understood is people have to see that everything's a lie like that, and then you free yourself. It's just that. It's just realizing that everything's a lie. Do you think the KM has less of a stranglehold on the parts of Asia that lean towards Buddhism? I do think. Now here's a controversial one, Jesse. Are you ready for this? I think they got to the Dalai Lama. I think they did. I do. And I think they attempted to infiltrate Buddhism just like they infiltrated Western religion or created Western religion. And yeah, I sense the sense that I have is because Buddhism is not a materialistic endeavor. Western religion is a materialistic endeavor. Buddhism is about release. Western religion is about attainment, achievement, believing correctly, you know, that kind of a thing. And so it's a doing, whereas Buddhism isn't like that. It's about releasing. And so, and I know some people can say the release is doing, but you guys understand what I'm saying. And so what I think they attempted to do was to capture Buddhism in the same way that they did religion, but because Buddhism isn't materialistic, they couldn't. But I do think they compromised the Dalai Lama, and I do think that he was bought and sold, unfortunately. But I don't think it originated with them. I think Buddhism originated out of the Eastern mind and nature. And that's, again, the silk trade routes and this other society infiltrating the West and changing it and so forth. I think that's part of the reason why it was so effective in doing that, was because it was an entirely different philosophy of life. Okay, Buddha was a teacher. He's only considered a god by those who don't understand it. Yes. Thank you, DDP. Thank you for that clarification. It's a muscle, Max. Meditation is a muscle. And it's not like running, where you can just hop up and run and you can go, you know, to your potential speed pretty quickly. Meditation requires you to first learn how to sit still. Then you have to learn to walk. Then you learn to run, you know, and I use those metaphors to say it's a development. You exercise that muscle. Consciousness and realizing consciousness is a muscle that you exercise. It's just in the spiritual realm, so it's a little different type of exercise. But you realize it by not doing. You realize it by letting go, sort of the opposite of physical exercise. And so it's a little different take on things. Okay. Chuck, if we were all able to access and utilize 100% of our brain, well, we wouldn't need, we certainly wouldn't need chat on the right here, because it would all be telekinesis and or telepathy. But I don't know how that would work. That's a really good question, Hyperbole. I like that. I don't know how that would work. Then why do people pray to Buddha? For the same reason they pray to Jesus. They don't understand. Japan, as a Buddhist nation, didn't get the empathy part during World War II, I guess. Yeah, neither did the Western nations. You got to understand, friend, these concepts we're talking about tonight, right? These are part of the Great Awakening. The masses didn't see. How many people saw Jesus as a psyop before 20 years ago? How many people saw Jesus as God, as the incarnation of Yahweh 20 years ago? You see, how many people thought the Buddha was the central figure in Buddhism, you know, a decade ago? A lot. And it's just now, Thomas, understand, it's just now that people are fighting this stuff out. People are just finding this out. And so it's a process of release. It's a process of letting go. You can't change Western or even Eastern society overnight. You can't change them just because you change their religion or their belief systems. It's a process. I don't understand this. While focusing on Christ Jesus of Nazareth, I don't want to open myself up to every energy. What do you mean by that? Wonder-kind Christians? What do you mean by that? Can we incorporate Zen while focusing on Christ Jesus of Nazareth? I mean, first of all, why would you want to do that? Secondly, Jesus is a form, so your focus should never be on Jesus. It should be on the deeper principles, some of which he was trying to teach you. It's the same with the Buddha. Don't focus on the form. Don't focus. Who cares about the Buddha? Who cares about Jesus? Stop focusing on the form. It's useless. Get that out of your head. It's the principles, the deeper inclinations, the deeper sense. Let go of the idol, my friend. Stop being an addict. Let go of the form. You're an addict if you're clinging to the form. You're addicted to form. Let it go. Let it go. Don't be an addict. Don't be a fanatic. Yes. Yeah. Simple breathing. The form means nothing. Yes. So you don't need a Jesus of Nazareth and you don't need a Buddha, my friend. Right there. You just solved your own problem. Just solved your own problem. Isn't that fantastic? That's like a little koan. Any other questions? It's a Greco-Roman arrow idea, like Apollo, born of a virgin demigod, the beliefs transposed onto Christianity. Exactly. Exactly. The pantheon of gods in the Canaanites is the pantheon of gods in the Greco-Roman pantheon, is the pantheon of disciples in Christianity. These are energies, and they've been given forms when they're supposed to simply be teaching a lesson, not worshiping the form. No, the Vril Society is not the Black Eye Club. The Black Eye Club is what happens when you get programmed. There's a couple of different theories. One theory is that because Satanism is an abuse technique and an abuse program, that part of your programming is they strike you in the face as a part of ensuring the programming They do the same thing with the sex and sodomizing and rape. You finalize and ensure the programming with a final rape or a final sodomy act. And so it's the same with the black eye. You finalize the reprogramming with a strike to the eye. Another theory is that they're actually injecting something into the eye, whether it's vril or a chemical or a product or something. That's another idea or thought. And that's the swelling that occurs after. But the Black Eye Club is real. The Black Eye Club is real. That's KM. That's KM stuff. You're welcome, whatever it was. You're welcome. It's a big gang, and they've all had black eyes. Yeah, it's real. It's like the Red Shoe Club. Same idea. Black Eye Club is real. Y'all, krill is a legit way. I think you meant vril is a legit way in the physical world. It all plays into the awaken and the deceptions, the conspiracy, the lies will set you free if you have the right mindset. Yeah. Just don't get too caught up in their different rituals and arguing about that, because ultimately it's the point that matters. Anything else? Yeah. And I just explained that. Exactly, Catlin. You're exactly right. I explained that. They don't require. That's why I think that's probably not true. The vril. If it is, it's fine. If it is, whatever. But they don't have to have it. Or they perfected it so they no longer had to use it. Maybe they used to, but they perfected the psychology now. Any other questions? Here. Chuck, do you think social media and AI is part of the parasitic implant? I think that social media and the internet and AI are all part and parcel to the development of the society. Some good, some bad. We will continue in that. We will continue. The Great Awakening isn't walking into a society where everyone wakes up every day and is just like, oh, it's so wonderful. That is not the Great Awakening. We're returning back to the way the world was before it became a farm. And so that will involve experiences, that will involve pain and pleasure, that will involve the normalcy that we experience here on the planet. It just won't be a captured system. Does that make sense? It's already pretty bad, to be honest. Yeah, it is. Yes, all the time. Anytime I talk to people about this stuff. My chat here is one of the few groups that actually can hear what I have to say. I mean, because a lot of people can't hear what I have to say. It's just too much. It's too much. Yes, they did co-opt everything. Yeah, what this is about is removing the KM. They are removing them because that's their hub. That's the old Levant. You guys know that. That's the old Levant. Iran, Iraq, that whole area, the North Egypt, up north of Egypt, that whole to the east of the Mediterranean. You see, that's all KM. That's their hub, and they're not. What you guys need to understand: these people are not going to surrender. They go down fighting. You're never going to see any of these people that committed all those crimes like I showed at the beginning of this video. You're never going to see any of those people come forward to the people and say, you're right, you caught me, I'm a full-on pedo, I am a full-on Satanist, you guys caught me. You're never going to get them to do that. They'll go down fighting. They'll go down saying, I did nothing wrong. They'll go down saying, I was caught. I did nothing wrong. I am completely innocent. Look what happens when these criminals are taken in front of Congress. All they do is lie. You guys have seen it. That's all they do is lie. And they'll continue to do it. They're not going to change. They're not going to say, oh, you win. You got me. No, there's no humbleness in them. There's no give up in them. They'll go down swinging. They'll go down lying. In fact, probably when they do take them down, there'll be many people that think, I can't believe you're taking this person out or killing them, because they're telling the truth. They're actually a really good person. They'll be saying that about known criminals, because there's always going to be unawakened people in this world. There's always going to be that. There's always going to be. And a person just simply progresses in development. We've simply been compromised. All the systems that were to assist in our raising our awareness in our existence on this planet have all been compromised. And all that has to change, and it will change, but it takes time. It takes time. Yes, and that's why. I don't know. It might have been LaVey. I think it might have been LaVey that said that, but I'm not sure. I've heard some of that is rumor and some of that is true. That's right, Catlin, you're correct. Once you know, they can't control you. That's exactly right. Yeah, I thought they'd been covered. Yeah, I thought they captured him. Really good question. We can talk about that at Zoom, but I want to have a back and forth interaction discussion with you if you want to talk about that question. But there's some understanding that's needed there, and it's a little beyond the scope of just a monologue for me. We need to talk back and forth to have better understanding there. Yeah, I do too. Some of my best ideas I've ever gotten happen during my runs, during my quote unquote walking meditation. Shall we go back to another koan? Yeah, muscle. Here we go. Sorry, guys, I can't keep up with all the, oh my God, there's just so many comments. I'm sorry, I can't keep up. I try, Clueless. I promise I try, friend. Yeah. Well, none of the KM will bend their knee. They will make a stand for the oppressed of the world, i.e. Palestinians. Not the KM, but good-hearted, humane-oriented people will definitely stand up for the Palestinians and for those that are being oppressed, just like the children that are in the tunnels. Good people will help those kids. But those that are running the tunnels, those that are running Iran, those that are in charge and in power and authority, those people have to be taken out. Those are the ones that are fallen. The masses of people, we all don't want to hate each other. We all want to love one another. We all want to integrate together. We have been taught to be racist against each other. We have been taught to hate each other. That is not a human characteristic. Hatred is not something that a person naturally develops towards someone else. It's something that is taught. It's something that that person has not been able to work through the forgiveness and insight necessary to no longer become hateful. But hateful is something that is teased out of someone. Love is something that comes out through a recognition, through an identity, a realizing that that other is also me. This is what conjures love, brings out love. Whereas hatred is something that festers. And it's something that can be taught, like racism. I can teach someone to hate another. I can't teach them to love another. Hate is a lower frequency like that. And so the KM, those are in charge, they will hate to the end. They'll never come out of it. They will hate to the end. They won't come out. Their humanness has been destroyed. Shall we do another koan? Most streamers don't answer questions, so thanks very much for trying. I'm trying, I swear to God. If you guys put your questions in caps, it's easier for me to find them. It doesn't mean I always will, but it will be easier for me to find them. What is this? Allegedly, the black eye ritual is to transfer some type of foreign or alien consciousness into the person. Yeah, there's thoughts of that too. Do you know what is this foreign entity or alien could be? Well, Epstein and others believe that you can now transfer consciousness, that consciousness, your personality traits, your characteristics, your likes, dislikes, your way and being and how you speak and the words you use and so forth. They say that that could be downloaded. I've yet to see that to believe it. I don't know. But Vril would tie into that idea. Thanks, I appreciate it. I'm trying, I promise. Arizona Elaine. The Christian religions eat of my flesh. And yeah, I'm sorry to got some bad news on that one. Could this be the start of the cannibalistic Epstein files? No. What that is, the eat of my flesh, drink of my blood. That's an old Canaanite technique that was integrated into Christianity by the order of the Black Snake, so that all the Christians would imagine themselves eating flesh and drinking blood when they would engage in communion. It's a deception. It's a deception to get all the Christians to engage in a demonic ritual, thinking that they're engaging in a holy cleansing ritual, when all they're doing is they're dousing themselves with demonism. That's the sad part. That's the sad part, because we're not sinners. And so what are you doing when you engage in communion? You're engaging in demonic activity. You're eating the flesh of Jesus and drinking his blood, which is what demons do. And this is how they got all the Christians to do what demons do, to do what Satanists do, and to imitate this every week. Heck, they celebrate Mass every day in Catholic Church. You can go eat Jesus's flesh and drink his blood every day in Catholic Church. And this is exactly what they want you doing. This is what the Satanists want you believing. They want you thinking that you need the flesh of Jesus and his blood. You need to eat that. You need to imagine eating that so that you're forgiven, because you're such a dirty, horrible sinner, you loser. That's what the Satanists are telling you. You're a dirty, horrible sinner, you loser. Well, the only thing that's going to save you is the blood of Jesus, which is their own satanic ritual, which is why they get you to do it. Do you guys see the deception? Do you see how they deceived you? They've got you worshiping their gods by name. They've got you imagining, engaging in eating a god's flesh and blood. Their exact ritual. They got you doing that. They got you doing that. They got you asking permission, seeking approval, and expecting approval from their God, from Satan, Lucifer. They got you doing it. Every single Christian, you're doing it. You're engaging in demonic activities. And I know it's so unthinkable, like you're probably shut me off right now because you can't imagine. I'm telling you, this is what's coming, my friend. This is the hard truth that's coming your way. Coming your way. And the funny thing is that all the Christians think that the Great Awakening is everyone becomes a Christian and start worshiping Jesus. That's what they think. They're all going to believe like me and believe like the Bible says, and that's the Great Awakening. You are in the midst of a massive deception. You are being deceived. You are being used by Satanists and demons. Sorry, be the bearer of bad tidings, my friend. Then why is there forgiveness, friend? Come on now. Come on. Come on. Why did Jesus die? He died for your sins because you're a sinner. Come on. Come on. Come on. Don't encourage their deception. You're not a sinner. You're not a sinner. You got it? You got it? Yeah, exactly. Imagine if I said that to my dad. That I told my dad that Jesus is Lucifer, that he's not a sinner, that there is no heaven and hell, and that this world has nothing to do with the life of Christ. Can you imagine if I told my dad that? They can't hear it. This is the perfect situation to understand the Great Awakening is not for everyone. Do you guys realize that? The Great Awakening is not for everyone. It is not for the person who is unwilling to awaken. The Great Awakening is not for them. They don't want it. They're on the front end saying, I don't want to awaken. I just want to keep believing what I've always believed. I don't want to awaken. Well, guess what, friend? Nature will oblige you. Nature is happy to hand that to you. Happy to. And if you don't want to believe, great. You will die not understanding the deeper truth. And nature has no problem and actually will not fight you on that. Will allow you to just walk into your own delusion. It's the way it is, man. Nature's merciless. Thank you. Appreciate it. That's what I want to be. And I love your insignia there. That is awesome. Got some sacred geometry going on there, friend. Nicely done. The God of the Bible is Lucifer, not who the Christian. Yes, there's so much. Yes, correct. Look at its psychology. Just look at it. Read my book. You'll learn its psychology. You'll know it's straight from Satan. You'll know it's straight from the Order of the Black Snake. You'll know it. Most people will be broken and go, yes, clueless. You are correct, my friend. My dad and my entire family, in my opinion, I think they would rather be dead than to live in a world without Jesus. They'd just rather not be alive. They don't want a world without Jesus. They don't. So in my opinion, I don't think any of my family will walk into the Great Awakening. I don't think so. Because they don't want it. They don't want it. They don't want to believe differently. They don't want to change. They don't want to think differently. They don't want it. Okay, then you don't get it. They're tainted. Meaning the Dead Sea Scrolls are tainted. And in fact, we still don't have the full translations. I don't know if you know that, but the Ashkenazi Jews are still holding back the real temptations because they don't line up with Christianity. And Christianity tries to use the scrolls as the basics to prove that Christianity is real and true. And not. I did a study of the scrolls years and years ago. They don't say what you think they say. They're not about what they say that they're about. They're lying about them. Now, the Ethiopian Bible, that really hasn't, as far as I understand, been touched too much. But, you know, I don't know what all is in there that has been touched or has not been infiltrated. But I will say that it would have much less infiltration because it's not a mainstream accepted book. So the controllers haven't spent a whole lot of time on it if they got their hands on it. But again, I think that there are many ancient understandings that point in a good direction that haven't been tainted. It's just hard to find them. It's hard to find that kind of meat. Thank you. Awesome. I'm glad you dig it. Question, Chuck. I love that dog. Yes. Question, Chuck. There's a lot of churches being burned in my country, Quebec, Canada. Who do you think does that? It's satanic houses. Yeah. Remember when they burned down, what was it? The Notre Dame spire, whatever. I'm convinced that those towers were where they held some of their highest ranking seances. And yeah, I'll leave it at that. I've said a lot tonight. That's probably going to offend a lot of people. Chuck, before you close tonight, give us an update on Lives Saved 4. That's my wife. I wonder why she's referring me to Chuck. All good. Okay, so the Lives Saved 4, what that is those are people who have contacted me to let me know that because of my work, they're here today. And so I have that in honor of them because I love them. And I'm so happy that my work has helped them. That's why I'm here. I'm here to help. And so someone on Zoom said to me on Friday, I think it was Clueless, that I should increase that number another digit because there are a lot of people that may not have tried to kill themselves physically, but they were spiritually dead. And it was because of my work here and what I'm trying to do in rendering this unspeakable world is to render a larger spiritual world than what the religion has handed you. And so he told me that because of my work, that he and others had an entirely new understanding and rebirth in their understanding of spirituality. And so I saved them. He wanted me to put up another number to render this, that his life, it wasn't that he was going to commit suicide, but that his life spiritually was dead. And thanks to my work here, he has found a renewed understanding of the spiritual world. And I never did put up my logo. I'm sorry. I never did put up my logo tonight. I'm sorry. But that is why. That's why that number is there. That's what that is. What's up, Stacy? Chuck, with this demonic infiltration into Christianity and so many pedo priests, I have wondered if there is some sort of secret vow taken. How did your dad escape knowing the truth? So here's the thing. Anton LaVey contacted my father in the early 70s when I was a young boy. And Dad, I think I was at the office at the time. He took the call. And LaVey wanted to meet with my dad and wanted to have a debate with him on Christianity. And LaVey communicated that he'd be happy to come to Dad's church. We were at EV Free Fullerton on Malvern Avenue at the time. This was about 1974, 75. And so LaVey contacts my dad, says that he wants to have a debate. And my dad said to him, he said, I'm not interested in debating you. And LaVey said, listen, I'm happy to come on your grounds. We'll come to wherever you want to meet. I'll be in front of any crowd you want. I won't ask anything of you. I just want to show up and debate with you and talk about our different belief systems in front of a crowd. Now, that was to try to do two things. Dad told him no, and he refused. Now, if Dad had said yes and agreed to that, I wouldn't be here today. I promise you. I wouldn't be here today, because that they would have come out. He would have come out. LeVay would have come out with a team, and it would have been to get me, because I'm blonde-haired, blue-eyed, and I at the time was about 5 years old. So I was the perfect sacrifice for some of their deepest, worst rituals, which have to have a blonde-haired, blue-eyed boy in order to carry out. They have specific rituals for specific types of people. And so because young blonde-haired, blue-eyed boys are hard to come by typically because it's a recessive gene, I'm a prize. And so he was wanting to meet with my dad as a front to have a debate, because you guys know Anton LaVey couldn't give a frog's fat ass about Christianity and knows that it's an invention by their own group. So he's not there to try and say anything about Christianity. The whole thing is a front to get to me, because I'm a commodity to him. And so Dad did not agree to being with LaVey. Two other things that were done. The CIA tried to get to Dad twice. He, again in the 70s, would go on trips to speak to other churches on, say, Saturday nights, so that he could fly home on Sunday to be at the church on Sunday. So like Friday nights or something, a church would call him out in his early days before he was known, and he would hold sort of like a Bible study or a meeting with that church. And so when he went out twice on these, he was staying at a hotel. And when he was at the hotel lobby the night after he had given his talk, he had a hooker approach him and drop a key into his glass and say to my dad, "Just show up at the room, anything goes, I'll see you there." And then she walked off. Dad obviously didn't go, and he never took the key up. That was a honey trap. Second time that it happened, he was, I believe it was in Texas, and he was at some meeting, and these two hookers walk onto the elevator. He's on an elevator, and he's about to go up to his room, and these two hookers walk on the elevator, and one of them says, the door's closed, and they both are looking right at my dad. And they say to him, they say, hey, sugar, you want to have a good time? And one of them starts rubbing his back. One of them it's kind of holding his hand and trying, and Dad like pulls away. And he says to him, "What are you doing? I'm a married man." And they said to him, "Oh, don't worry. We won't tell your wife. No. Just come on to our room. We got everything set up. Anything goes. You can have anything we want. It's on us tonight. We're happy to. We think you're a handsome guy, and we're happy to do this with you." It's a total freaking setup. And my dad said, no. And so he said they walked off the elevator, and they're like, "Come on, sugar, let's go." And my dad's standing there, and he says, "No, I'm not going." And Dad said that the two girls like looked over at each other like, "You have to be kidding me." And the door's closed. Like Dad is watching them, and they're like looking at each other like, "What the heck? This guy's not coming." And the door's closed right in front of Dad. Those are the three instances that the CIA tried to get to my father. Because LaVey's CIA. CIA is Satanism. That's what undergirds the CIA. That's why they're a mind control institution. They're a satanic institution, the CIA. And we all know that hookers don't just walk up to your glass and say it's all paid for and drop the key in the glass. They come up to my room. Anything goes as long as you want. They don't do that. That's a honey trap. And so they tried to trap my dad a number of times. So yeah, they tried to get to my dad, but they never did, thankfully. And my dad doesn't have any skeletons in the closet. They would have come out long ago. But no, he's here. If someone goes to church their whole life and is unaware they are worshiping Lucifer, what is the difference? It's not like they are sacrificing children. Okay, let me read that again. I'm sorry, my mind left me for a minute there. If someone goes to church their whole life and is unaware they are worshiping Lucifer, okay, what is the difference? Because it's ineffectual. It doesn't work. It's not like they're sacrificing. You're right. But you are directing your attention towards something that's not going to respond to that. It doesn't. The higher frequencies and the higher resonances are not at that layer. Do you understand? They're past the mind. They're past words. The lower spirits are interacting in that way. The higher spirits are a much higher plane. Does that make sense? When the Christian, here's another thing. When the Christian is praying and engaging in that, they are right there removing themselves from that spiritual state because they're asking, they're seeking for it outside themselves. There's nothing there to enter. It's in you already. It's already there. There's nothing to get. And the whole mentality of the Christian is they are pulling that spirit into themselves. No, the spirit comes out of you. There's nothing to integrate. There's nothing to call in. In other words, they've got them running down. They've got them running on a goose chase. They're chasing after something that it's not a form, friend. The higher spirit, it's not a, why do you think the void is the void? It's a higher plane. There's no form there. So tying people into forms, tying them into objects, tying them into things, you're taking away from spirituality right there. You're tying them into the material world. This is how to do it. You don't need to be sacrificing a child in order to be engaged in this demonic activity, because you're engaged in the mind destruction. You're believing the egregores. And as long as you believe their religions, as long as you believe their medicines, as long as you believe their names of these forms, you're believing in demonology. You're believing in your own demise. They like that. That's the point, for you to never have known it. The point was that you would pray your entire life to Lucifer and never know it. That's the point. To keep you stuck so that 2,000 years later, people are still worshiping Canaanite gods. To keep you stuck and not realizing it's already in you, friend. You're giving it away when you pray to something outside yourself. You're giving it away. You're giving it away. And you're giving it away to creatures that want to eat you and consume you and destroy you. You're giving it to them. You're giving permission. Why do you think there's been no development in Western religion in 2,000 years? Because there's nothing there to develop. It's a dead end. It's based on emptiness and lack. Less than. And that's the point, man. And the whole goal was for you to never know this. You were to never know it. That's what the Great Awakening is. So that you will know what you were never meant to know. And that those who weren't ready to awaken, they would just fall off the side. Because nature has no mercy, and we're walking into a great awakening. And if you are unwilling to awaken, and if you are unwilling to change your mind, and if you are going to stubbornly stay in the beliefs programmed into you, frankly, friend, you haven't merited the great awakening. And as far as nature is concerned, you don't freaking deserve it. You refuse to believe anything different. You refuse to grow. You refuse to let go of all these forms and images that have been stuck into you by Satanists. And if you're unwilling to let that stuff go, and if you're unwilling to grow as a person and to realize a higher consciousness, my friend, there's no merit for you in the Great Awakening. You have not merited it. You'll die ignorant. You'll die believing the old way. Nature's merciless. You see how it works? You have to do the work. You have to grow. If you don't grow, that's your own fault. It's your own problem, man. Tough love here, tough stuff, but that's the Great Awakening. They'll just die, Mookie. They'll die ignorant, having missed the opportunity to have a much larger experience as a human being, and that's their own fault. They refuse to awaken. It's like the person who goes and they get cancer treatment from a Western doctor, and they do as the doctor says, and it ends up killing them. Whose fault is that? Is it the doctor's fault? No, the doctor's just doing as he's told. He's just obeying. Whose fault is it? It's the person that gave the doctor permission, that gave that doctor permission to practice his medicine on them. Well, that's your own fault. That's your own fault. It's like if you get no, that's a bad example. Well, like if you get on a roller coaster ride that spins or something, and that you're prone to getting dizzy or whatever, and you know that, and you get on just like, no, I'm just gonna have fun anyways. I'm gonna have a good time. So you go on the roller coaster ride, and you get sick and you throw up for 4 or 5 days. Whose fault is that? It's your fault. You got on the ride. Did you believe the egregores? Did you believe the religions they told you to believe? Did you believe that you're a sinner? Did you believe you're going to hell? Did you believe that Jesus was your savior? Did you believe Allah was your savior? Did you believe that? Well, that's your own fault. And if you're going to believe that until the day you die, bummer Bob, you die ignorant. Nature's a meriting system. You didn't merit in a larger mind because you refused to risk. You refused to doubt. You only wanted to obey. Do as you're told. And as long as you obey, do as you're told, and follow orders, my friend, just how awakened do you deserve to be? Honestly, how awakened do you deserve to be? Really? It's like a person who wants to play football, but you're not willing to work out and do the necessary calisthenics to play the game. Well, okay, you're going to go play. You're going to get hurt. You're not going to do well. You're going to suck. You don't deserve it. You didn't merit it by working out and doing what was necessary to get good. And if you're not willing to have a bigger spirituality than what the KM has told you, my friend, you're your own problem. You're your own limitation. It's not their fault. It's not your neighbor's fault. It's not God's fault. It's your freaking fault. It's your freaking fault. What did survive and thrive thing? What is the ultimate cure for all cancer? Awareness. Awareness of yourself and the disease. You must heal yourself. That's the way it is. You must heal yourself. I want to read this from Clueless because I like Clueless. You're here now. You're ready for the truth, Sean. The universe imparts the info when you're ready. Yes. The nature delivers the journey when the hero is ready. Here it is right there. Beautiful Clueless. I love you, brother. The universe imparts the info when you're ready to accept it with damaging your psyche, brother. Exactly. Exactly. It's painful. Awakening. You think awakening is easy. You think the great awakening is not going to be mentally challenged. You think it's not going to push you to the limit, push you to the extreme of everything. How do you think you grow? Being pushed. Meaning life. Life. Yes, they do. They do believe that. It's part of it. Did RSO and apricot seeds get rid of my cancer? Did my belief in their healing powers get rid of my cancer? Both, Max. Both. There has to be a science and there has to be mind. This is a disease that's going to kill you. You must utilize every asset you have. Utilize the best holistic science you can get, your best experience, the best advisors, natural advisors. It's no joke. It's not easy beating cancer, friend. It is not easy. It will cost you. Just like it's going to cost you, the Great Awakening is going to cost you. It's going to cost you your beliefs, your religion, your assumptions, all that. Chuck, what is your opinion on mushrooms, LSD, DMT, and other psychedelic drugs? They definitely help me open. Yes. They are deprogramming agents. That's what mushrooms are, LSD and DMT. They are deprogramming agents. They erase your hard drive of all the religious programming you've experienced, all the bad medical programming you've experienced, all the bad basic toxins that you've been exposed to. These things detoxify you. They detoxify your body and they detoxify your mind if they are used appropriately. It's like any natural medicine. A natural medicine can actually make you more sick if you use it inappropriately. They must be used appropriately. And if you inappropriately use nature, you will suffer the consequences because nature's merciless. So whenever you engage these types of mind-altering medicines, make sure your set and setting is factored into it. Make sure you know what you're taking, know your drugs, know what they do, know the biology, study, right? Prepare yourself. Nature delivers the journey to the hero who is prepared. And if you properly prepare yourself, Nature will deliver the goods. These are nature medicines. They will deliver the goods if you properly prepare yourself and work with someone who knows what they're doing and has done them before. They will help advise you. They could even be a sitter for you so that you can work through the first few sessions, which are difficult because they melt your brain. They make you question everything. And the greatest thing you can do to grow as a person is to ask the question, what's the matter here? What's wrong? Why do I think I need a savior? Why is the government so corrupted? Why are they putting all this crap in the food? What's that about? Why are they spraying all this crap in the air? What's that about? Start asking questions, and do not get your answers from authorities. Get answers from fellow experiencers, people who are in the fox trench, the foxhole with you. Ask those people, the conspiracy theorists. They're the ones who know because they started doubting a long time ago, long before you. So they're very familiar with this subject matter and are very fluent in it. Just like I am sharing with you. It just takes time, effort, energy, dedication, persistence, love, humiliation. Like you need to be a humble person to do this because you have to be willing to admit, I was wrong about Christianity. I was wrong about Jesus. I was wrong about religion. I was wrong about medicine. I was wrong about government. I was wrong about GMOs. I was wrong about the food pyramid, meaning I believed it. And a person has to be humble enough to admit that to change. It's like the alcoholic. You have to admit you're an alcoholic if you're ever going to beat alcoholism. You have to admit you're addicted to religion if you're ever going to get rid of religion. You have to admit, I'm codependent with Jesus, brother. I think I'm a sinner. I'm totally codependent with this religion. I'm dysfunctional. It takes humility to admit that. Big humility. And last time I checked, most Christians are narcissists when it comes to spirituality because they know they're right. They know Jesus is their savior. They know they're a sinner. They know that folks that don't believe like them are going to hell. And a person like that doesn't give it up easily, man, because they're full of fear. Because they know if I don't believe like this, I am going to hell and Jesus won't be able to love me because I'm a sinner. Do you see how it works? Prisoner and the warden. Takes a tremendous amount of humbleness and meekness to admit I was totally wrong. I was totally wrong. And yeah, Christians aren't well versed in that idea when it comes to spirituality because they know they're right. It's a narcissistic teaching. Right on. Right on. Yeah, we're lit tonight. I had a feeling tonight was going to be lit. I just had a feeling. I didn't know why. Yeah, this. Thank you, Shenjak. If I could remove one thing from the world to make it a better place, it would be cocksurety. I love that. Well done. Yeah. Ego tripping, man. Usually religion makes you a full-on ego tripper because, man, you know you're right. You know it. You cannot understand how long I lived like that. I lived like that for 40 years. I lived knowing I was right, knowing I had it figured out, knowing that I had the whole spiritual thing answered, solved. All good. I'm going to heaven. I got the right God. Got it all worked out. Got the right prayers going on. Got the Bible study worked out, going to church on Sunday. Man, I got it, man. I'm doing the spiritual thing. Oh, yeah, I got Wednesday night Bible study. Oh, yeah, I'm a Bible study leader. In fact, heck, I play in the church. I sing in the church choir. I'm doing it, brother. I'm doing it. I got the Christian thing worked out. Oh, yeah, man. Caught in themselves. Completely taken. Completely absorbed by a belief system. You didn't come here to believe something, man. You came here to experience faith, to experience authenticity, to experience wonder and awe. You know? Yeah. So I would never call myself humble, but definitely it took humbleness to admit how far I was taken with religion. completely taken. And I'll tell you something that's hard, Clueless. I'll tell you something that's hard, is when you see people that you love who are as taken as you were. That's called tragedy. A tragedy is when you know it. When you know it's coming, when you know what it is, you know what the problem is, and there's not a damn thing you can do. That's a tragedy. And when you see your best friends, you see your parents, your family, and they are totally caught, totally tied, heartbreaking, heartbreaking. You can't even have a conversation. You can't. With the hardcore religionist Christian, I know, because I was one, you can't even have an objective conversation with them. You can't. And what's going to change that is the breaking of those wills. And the only thing that's going to break the Christian will is realizing that they've bought a con, that they believe in a con, realizing that they are not what they've been told they are. They're not going to leave Christianity because you come at them with a bunch of laws and ideas from another belief system. They're only going to leave it if they see the authentic sense past their religion, outside their religion. And the only way that that can be conveyed is just interacting with them, talking to them, and loving them. And for them to then realize through who you are, and it's like they know you're not a Christian, they know you don't believe you're a sinner, they know that you think that the world isn't fallen, so they disagree on everything, but yet you're a nice person. You're a caring, loving person. And you go out of your way for others, and you give of your time and space and experience to others, and you love them unconditionally. And it is those types of real firsthand experiences that your Christian friends can have that can win them over. But it's not going to happen because they lost an argument with you. They're not going to leave Christianity because they lost the argument with you about who Jesus was. They'll never leave. It only reinforces them to stay in it longer. You have to render it to them through your actions and love. It's the only way that they'll hear you. It's the only way. They're built for the fight. The Christian is built to defend themselves. They're built to defend their beliefs, because that's what the Bible does. It teaches you to defend that belief. And so you get caught up in that fight, that resistance, that I am showing my faith in Jesus because I am defending the faith. This is the mind of the Christian. So they think that fighting you and defending the faith and defending the belief and defending Jesus, they think, oh yeah, I'm a saint. I'm doing it, man. I'm defending Jesus. I'm standing up for it. And they think they're doing the right thing when all they're doing is they're just burying themselves in more lies, and they don't have any idea why or that they're doing it. No idea. Because that's what I thought. I knew I'm like defending Jesus, man. I am such a good Christian. I am defending Allah if you're an Islamist. I'm defending Allah and the Islamists. Oh yeah, I'm on the right side of the fence, man. I'm doing it. And how dare you question this? How dare you question my God? How dare you question Allah? How dare you question Jesus? Who are you? This is the mentality of the Christian. Ready for the fight. Because they're oriented to the world through conflict. They're oriented to the world through resistance and conflict, because that's how the Bible sets you up. You're a sinner. You're in conflict with yourself. You're a Christian. You're in conflict with those who are not Christians. You are a human being, and you're in conflict with the world because it's fallen. The entire thing is built on conflict, not contrast. Conflict, a fight. It sets you up for a fight, so that when the fight comes, yeah, I'm ready. Tribal systems are like that. Christianity is a tribal system. It's us versus them. That's its spirituality. Us versus them. Spirituality comes out of conflict, not us and them, us with them. No. There's the in group and there's the out group. Period. And my denomination in Christianity is right. Yours is wrong. Mine is right. You see, fight, conflict, prove the other guy wrong. This is how the Christian orients themselves. This is how they know they're fighting for the faith, by educating themselves, memorizing verses, and defending the faith. You see how it works? The whole thing is a conflict trap. And you get caught in that stuff, man, and you start thinking you're a Christian warrior, and you start thinking you're something special. It's all cons and lies. Narcissism, meism, myopia. It's spiritual myopia. Here we go. Here. How to not pity those who won't see or release oneself from responsibility. You see, yeah, you have to have pity for them, and that's the love. That's the person who doesn't go to the Christian and says, okay, here's where all the areas where you're wrong and screwed up. They go and simply show them love. They just show them love. They're just a nice person. You just are nice to them, and you're not confrontational with their religion. You just simply show them a side of truth, a side of love that is outside of Christianity, that has nothing to do with Jesus. Exactly what I did with my dad. When my dad confronted me and said, this report you gave about your cancer doesn't say anything about Jesus. And that's when I told Dad, well, Dad, it's because Jesus had nothing to do with my healing from cancer. And this is a way to show Dad my self-love, that I healed myself from cancer and so on and so forth, having nothing to do with the religion at all. And so that's why my dad, when we had that conversation and I said that, instant, like, who are you, Chuck? Instant separation, because Christianity is a conflict-oriented spirituality. And so right there, because I refused to say that Jesus was part of my healing, right there, that's a confrontation of my father, because he's like, wait, you're not saying the name of Jesus. You should be giving Jesus the claim for your healing. What is the matter with you? Immediate separation. You see what happens? That's how Christianity's made. The whole thing is made like that. That's why when you're going to tell a person about Christianity, the first thing you say to them is, do you realize you're a sinner and you're separate from God? Do you realize that? Like, did you know that you were born in sin? You're a sinner. And therefore God cannot show grace to you because you haven't accepted the gift from Jesus. So you can't truly know God or truly know Jesus or this beautiful Christianity. You can't know any of that until you admit you're a sinner and then ask for forgiveness. So the very first thing they're doing with Christianity is getting you into a conflict with God and a conflict with yourself, and also a conflict with the world. That's its initiation. That's how you learn that you are or are not a Christian, is through conflict. And so the whole thing is about that. Proving it's right, sustaining itself, making sure that everyone believes correctly and in this way, that you said the right prayers, that you're worshiping the right gods, that you're going to the right groups, you're saying the right things, you're living the moral life, doing. And now you just have a whole world of people who are caught up in it. It's nothing to do with Christianity, or it has nothing to do with realization, everything to do with memorizing and doing. I just divorced my whole family. My son has also been brainwashed. I have had to leave my community group. Very isolating time, but I do have to do it. Put number 5 up, Chuck. I am very sorry, my friend, that it is costing you this. I am so sorry. It has cost me also my friendships. I'm not close to any of my friends anymore. I have sporadic communication with 1 or 2 of them from time to time, and that's it. Rarely ever talk to my family, and when I do talk to my family, it's stretched. They try, they try to connect, but I've known my sisters my whole life. I've known my brother my whole life. I've known my parents my whole life. I haven't talked to my brother in 15 years, probably won't talk to him until I go to one of my parents' funerals. And I talk to my sister, Colleen, probably once or twice a year, and I talk to Creasa a number of times a year. I'm closer to Creasa than any of my other siblings. But it's all strained because they know I've left. So it's all strained. It's all difficult. And this is what Christianity does to people. It tears families apart. It tears friendships apart. So what you're telling me, that 70% of the USA are worshiping Satan? Yes. And they don't even know it. When I started to wake up, I felt like I was becoming schizo. Yeah, me too. Me too, friend. But that's what society would call connection in all things. Exactly. The weirder you are, right, the more normal you are. Meaning because you're not following societal norms. And our society is insane. It's insane. It's insane medically, religiously, socially. It's insane. So normalcy now is the crazy people. The ones that actually think, you know what? You're not a sinner. I'm considered a crazy person. I think that you're not a sinner. You're not falling from God. Can you believe that? You're not falling from God. You don't have to say any forgiveness prayers to know God. to experience God. You don't need a religion at all. I mean, I'm a nutcase compared to most every Westerner. Nutcase. Chuck, hello, Base Notes. I've seen both of your KM videos recently, and this is my first live. Well, welcome to the party. Kind of heavy this week. I'm sorry. It was supposed to be about more Zen. We've been doing that, but lately I've just kind of been on this other trip because of all this stuff that I found in that book of Solomon and Crowley. And I'm like, well, I got to tell the troops, man. I got to tell the group, man. I am so lucky to have found you and the tribe. Should I go back a couple lives to chapter 1? Yeah. I mean, you can. They're nothing. It's just so you know, Base Notes. We've really been studying Zen pretty as good students. We've been doing a good job. And 2 weeks ago, I came across a book called The Key of Solomon. And it's actually a book on demonology and raising the dead and raising demons. And it was a key element to a gentleman named Aleister Crowley, who was considered to be the beast. And he actually claims that he spoke with Lucifer, and he wrote a book called Thelema, or he developed what is the group Thelema, that is based on Thoth, the Egyptian god Thoth. And so I came across this book that he used in his seances, and the demons that he called out and used in the seances are the same names of the gods and disciples and people and stuff that's in the Bible. Same names. And so that began a WTF process inside of me, because I had finally found one of the manuals that one of the head Satanists of the world that has ever lived used for his seances. And that manual is basically using Psalms and Bible verses to raise demons. So just put 2 and 2 together, and you begin to figure it all out, begin to figure out what's going on. And so to answer your question, Base Notes, yes, it would behoove you, if you want to understand Zen and the way of Zen and its backgrounds and all about it, even some of my history. I open up the series giving a bit of a testimony of my own life and how I relate to the Buddha, in that he had a life very similar to mine in its overall gist, in what was happening at specific ages of his life. And I have found parallels in his life to mine. And so I'm not saying I'm Buddha, I'm not saying anything special. Please understand, that's not why I'm relating this. I'm relating this to help people understand. Through my own experience, I can help convey the essence of Zen through my own personal life. And so it might help you in understanding Zen a little bit better, to see the chapters before this one, to get a better grasp of Zen. My intention, obviously, is, it is 8:20. Oh my God. My intention is to continue in the Zen, but I have been on this demonism trip for the last 2 weeks, and that's why. I've just been on a demonism trip for the last 2 weeks. And so that's why this has happened. I've gotten so far behind in my Zen, but we did cover a koan today, so that's good. This is incredible. What is this? Hi, Chuck. I grew up at Harvest One Riverside. We have so much in common. I'm 59 and just woke up. I'm alone. Been accepting I was a sinner all this time. Thanks for your help. Oh my God. That's number 6. That's number 6. And I would love to have a conversation with you, Crystal. Are you willing to come to Zen? Since I'm closing, I got to close up now. This is ridiculous. It's 8:20. Could you come to Zen, please, Crystal? It's these kinds of conversations that I want to have in Zen or in Zoom. I meet with the general public, people from my chat, every Friday at 1 o'clock. Okay. And the purpose of that meeting is these kind of questions. The purpose of Zoom is not for me to present more material. I did that recently. That's fine. But that's not the purpose of Zoom. The purpose of Zoom is to interact with you guys and to have questions like this with people, in your case, that grew up just like me. And by having a conversation, other people who have, maybe haven't experienced that or are experiencing that will find identity. And because they will identify through yours and my conversation, it will help awaken them. It will help awaken them. And so please come to Zen or to Zoom. We meet once a week. All you have to do is email me. Stacy, do you have? Here, Stacy's got my email. This is the email. Stacy, can you make a quick write-up for Zoom? Just the details of Zoom so that I can post? Here. Thank you, Stacy. You're right ahead of me. Awesome. Okay, every Friday we meet at 1 o'clock. Now, how righteous would it be? Think about this, guys. How righteous would it be if we had a person come in and ask a question like that, and we could spend the time in Zoom elucidating the psychology of Christianity and why it is so bad for you? This is the kind of thing I want to do in Zoom. I want people to come in, brave people who are tied up in religion, tied up in Islam, tied up in Christianity, tied up, to come in and let's have a conversation and let's see if we can begin to loosen some of the ropes that you've tied yourself up in. I don't want to be confrontational. I'm not in it. There's no confrontation. This is a setting of love and care. This isn't a setting to try to get someone to come in and mock and take advantage of them. None of that. This is a time for us to get together, love one another, and share our frustrations with spirituality, with the government, with whatever is happening, with Zen. Frustrations of your own development, your own awareness, not understanding the void, not understanding where you come from, your meaning, your purpose, why there is a world, so on and so forth. This is the kind of thing I want to talk about in Zoom. Okay, and then Zen on Saturdays is supposed to be a time when we study Zen. We're studying bettering ourselves, learning and growing. So you can contact me at contactchuckjr@yahoo.com. Say, hey, Chuck, I want to come to Zoom. Can you send me an invite? And I will send you an invite. And please understand, I have to use a blind copy because I have well over 100, probably like 150 people now on my Zoom list. And it comes across as spam in the people who get my letter. And so they never get the letter and they get frustrated and write me and say, listen, I've asked to be on Zoom 2 or 3 times and you never sent an invitation. No, I am sending an invitation. It's in your junk mail. It's in your junk mail. And then Zoom people also, they get all the slides from the previous Saturday. So they have all the information that I put up on the screen. I send that every week to everyone who's in Zoom. So it's a great, I'm just promoting it to help encourage you guys to come and join. Come on to Zen, to come on to Zoom. Join us on Friday at 1 o'clock. Let's have a conversation. I like doing this more than anything in the world, is having conversation, but it's one-sided on Saturdays because you guys can't talk back. And it's all caught up. And this is a way for you and me to talk one-on-one and get to your concerns. Guys, I am so sorry. I had no idea it was 8:30. I literally thought it was about 5 minutes to 8. I am very sorry for going so long. I love all you guys. We will call it a night. I was going to play the prelude again, but we're so far overdue now. So I love you guys. Thanks for being here. Sorry we didn't cover more Zen. We'll keep going next week. I'm off the trip now. I have said my piece about Crowley. I'm done with that. We're not going to be going there anymore. I've left that alone. And to next week, we will focus in on Zen and we will get more done. But I hope the conversation about Crowley, Christianity, religion, Satanism, demonism, Hebrew language, the Egyptians, the forming of the Hebrew language, I hope that dialogue tonight has been elucidating for you, that it's opened up some doors. Maybe you knew a lot of that, but maybe one thing or two things I said or someone wrote has kind of been like, what? Come on to Zoom, let's talk about it. That's just, I'm wanting to inspire you guys here to have a conversation and to help break you free. Thank you so much for being here, guys. I'm gonna call it a day. Yep. If you want to talk to me one-on-one, come to Zoom. Please come to Zoom. Love you too. Love you too, friend. Absolutely. Love you too, friend. Thank you for being here. Please come to Zoom. I would love to meet you in person. Huko Samoa, I would love to meet you, sir. It would be fantastic. Yeah, we're done. We're done with Crowley. Done with Crowley. We will move on. Next week, I've got, let's see, we were on that. We finished that up. So I think it's the next one. Zen number koan. Yeah, it's just the finishing up that first koan. So we'll just do that one slide and then continue on our journey with Zen. and we'll go from there. I love you guys. Love you guys. Please come and see me. Thank you. I'm glad you sent it. I'll grab it, meaning your email, and I'll send you the invite. I send invites to Zoom on Wednesday. Okay, so those will go out Wednesday. So don't expect your invite until Wednesday. I send out Wednesday. And again, check your junk mail, because most of the time my emails go into the junk. And we will increase the live save to 6 for next week, because we had 2 more people, which is fantastic. Okay, love you guys. Love you, Max. I'll see you guys next week. Here signing off. I'll see you guys next week. Peace out.